is the home of sim racing leagues. Our management tools allow you to recruit drivers and monitor their ratings and live splits. Find this and more at gridfinder.com. Sign up for free today.
Good evening everyone and welcome back to the World Online Racing YouTube channel for round number 11 of this PC Tier 1 season, where tonight we could see history in the making as Jarno Opmeer could write his name once again into the history books with a third WOR title. More on that in just a few minutes time. My name is Dan Field and once again I'm being joined by Nathan. Nathan, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing brilliant, Dan, and probably even better than normal because we've got to a point where we've got three drivers fighting for a championship, 2 rounds left to go. This is going to go to the wire, I think. I don't think it's going to be over tonight, or at least I'm hoping it's not. I'm hoping it goes to the final rounds, but I think these three are going to give it everything. You know, Isma, Thomas and Jonna, they have been showing their peaks this game, and I think when they're at their peak, none of them can beat each other. They're that good.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, tonight we're racing at Abu Dhabi, the site of the Season 13 title finale, where of course Jarno Opmeer took his first championship. It's been what, 4 seasons since then at that point. Season 16, 15, 14 and 13. Jarno Opmeer in some fine form still to this day. But before we get into what is going to happen tonight, let's have a little think about last time by in Qatar. Of course, Tom Manley took his first PC Tier 1 victory. It was a long time coming. The Season 12 Xbox champion finally captured gold. They had Thomas Ronhart in second. Otis Lawrence rounded off that podium. Jarno Opmeer in fourth. Fifth for Duncan Hoffland. Another strong result from him. Freddie Rasmussen 6th. 7th, Valentin Bruffair. 8th, Nicholas Songe. 9th was Shanika Clay. And Reese Linton rounded out that top 10. And heading into the championship, into this race tonight, which could be our title finale, here are your standings. Jarno Opmeer leading the way by 29 points, I believe it is, to Thomas Ronhart. So very fine margins between the pair of them. Is the title going to be wrapped up today? We'll have to wait and see. Ismail Fassi a little bit further back in the hunt at the minute on 95 points. Otis Lawrence out of title contention on 72. Tom Manley, he jumps into 5th position on 57 points ahead of Duncan Hoffland on 56. Just 1 point separating the pair of them. Nicholas Longe in 7th. 8th is Jake Benham. 9th, Alvaro Caraton. Rounding out the top 10 is Dylan Warren. Nathan, how about that last time out then at Qatar? Tom Manley finally taking his first win, and it felt like that should have been maybe came a good few seasons ago.
Of course, Tom, I think especially this season has really been showing some improvements, and it came, it did work last time out in Qatar, and you can see, we was in that bottom part of the standings and around 13th, 14th place, got that win, jumps up in towards 5th, and that, it just shows how much one win or a couple of podiums can do for your championship and can swing you up towards the top. And you think about it, Dan, if this was a few races earlier, maybe we could have seen Tom Manley try and fight for that title, maybe not as hard, but, theoretically it could have happened, and I think that's the good thing is in it at the start of the season to get as many people to get those wins. But I think either way, he's took the win now. I think he's still going to be happy about it.
Yeah, I mean Tom Manley, he's been good ever since he came back this season. It's been a while since we saw him on the grid. All of a sudden, he's come back, getting podiums and winning races. Finally, I thought felt like ages. But let's talk about Nathan. What could happen tonight with the permutations now on your screens? Jan Wotmir, if he wins this race, he will be your season 13, 14, 15, 16 champion. That is what locks it out for him. Thomas Ronhaar still does have a good chance of actually, keeping himself in the title hunt. But Jan Wotmir, as it's looking like, Nathan, is in a great position to take it all today.
He is indeed, and I think, Jarno, if you look through what he's done this season, he's barely finished any lower than 5th or 6th. So I think, his chances are maybe Thomas or Ismail could try and scrape it tonight to take it to the next round. But I think when we get through to the final round, obviously in Saudi Arabia, it's still going to be even less likely for those who to take it. So I think Jarno, his best thing to do is just not put himself under too much pressure because he's got 2 rounds to do it. It's going to be very hard for Thomas and Ismail to beat him. So he's just going to keep himself calm, get on with what he normally does, and I don't think he's got that many worries at all.
Yeah, Ismail Fassi in this hunt as well needs a minimum of 5th position to keep himself out of any hope of staying in this title hunt. Thomas Ronhaar needs at the very least 9th position to stay in the hunt. It could go down to the very wire next time out in Saudi Arabia, but for now we are in Abu Dhabi, a very historic circuit, both in real life Formula 1 and here in WOR. Of course, that season 13 title finale was actually between Jan Wotmir and Thomas Ronhaar. It was a 3-way title fight, so a little bit similar to this season, but it was actually Ruben Pedreño in that hunt. Although, funnily enough, Ismail Fassi actually took victory in that last round. So if Ruben Pedreño is racing today, which he is, I see him in the lobby, Nathan, he's going to have a good shot of winning.
Indeed, I think Ruben's one of those. He's not here every week, but I think when he turns up, we can always put in a decent result. And obviously we got Patrick alongside him, both at Race Quadruple racing in a different car. So we'll see that also makes some changes for their lineup a little bit. Having a bit of a different car, seeing the orange instead of the blue. I think we all know it doesn't mean too much, but it's got that psychological effect of not being in the Alpine. You're in a completely different car, the different engine. We might use it as more of excuses, but I think it definitely has some sort of hindrance on the driver's performances. But either way, yet again, Dan, this grid is phenomenal. The attendance this season has been brilliant, hasn't it? These drivers, we know they have they have other things to go with, other obligations, but most of them still turn up every single week and make some brilliant racing.
Yeah, let's actually have a little look at the grid for tonight. I'll bring you in to the game scene just so you can have a little look. It is Shanaka Clay and Dylan Warren in the Red Bull. Ferrari is donned by Barry Burman and Nicholas Longe, the best lineup they have seen all season long. Mercedes is Jan Wotmir, and I assume Jake Benham will be getting in the lobby very soon. Philip Presnade and Luke Smith in the Alpine. McLaren is Patrick Sipos and Ruben Pedreño. Alfa Romeo is Thomas Ronhaar and Ika Boehner. Aston Martin, Fabrizio Donoso and Duncan Hoffland. Good to see Fabrizio back on the grid tonight. Haas is Tamas Gal and Benz Jabo Konyi. Alpha Tauri is Tom Manley and Jed Norgrove. Jed Norgrove, seen him on Twitter very recently, doing some fantastic things for his brother. Make sure you check him out on Twitter. I actually don't know his handle, but Jed is doing a splendid job supporting his brother with cancer at the minute. And in the Williams, it is Ismail Fassi and Valentin Bruffair. If you haven't seen the chat, Luke Humphreys has said that Ismail's restarting his PC, so that's why we're having a little bit of a small delay, but we should be getting into the lobby very, very soon. Nathan, this grid tonight, absolutely stunning.
Indeed, and obviously, yet again, as we will see throughout the season, we've got a lot of people who might not have raced last season coming in for their first seasons, and I think a lot of drivers who've done that, they've done a very good job under pressure from some of the best people in the scene. Your lots of Jarno, Nicholas, Thomas, Barry, drivers that have come through up the ranks, and I think they've all done a decent job. And I think everyone at some points this season has deserved to be on the podium, has deserved to be in that top 5. And I have noticed Ismail Fassi has just got himself into the lobby, so now we're just waiting for the final Mercedes driver, which should be Jake Benham, to get him. And he's not joining for qualifying, but he will be here for the race. So I believe, Dan, very shortly we're going to be good to go for the Abu Dhabi qualifying and Grand Prix.
Yep, so now everyone is beginning to ready up in our lobby. Now we've got 19 runners in qualifying, a little bit less pressure, given that Jake Benham, we know, is not going to be there for that Q1 session. The timer has started, and we are about to get ready for the penultimate round of the season. Let us know, everyone, in the live chat, if you were excited to see a potential championship being captured for the third time here in WOR. Jarno Opmeer on the precipice of making history once again. Of course, he was the very first driver to win 2 titles here in PC Tier 1, and he's going to look to go back-to-back for the very first time here with a Season 15 and Season 16 championship. So let us know, everyone, in the live chat, if you are looking forward to seeing this one tonight. We're about to get ready to head into qualifying now, Nathan, and of course, 19 runners in this session. Should be a fun one.
Indeed, in Abu Dhabi, it's a brilliant circuit. I think it's a little bit, underrated sometimes. I think because of the way championships have ended here over the past many years, people seem to hate it a little bit more than it deserves. I think it's a brilliant circuit, and obviously those changes down at turn 9 and 10, it used to be a bit of a chicane. Now it's obviously that long uphill left-hander. I think that has made some very nice renovations as well, and also at the final corner, I believe they made it a little bit more wider, so you could take it pretty much flat out instead of having to have a bit of a break in towards that, obviously around the 2021 time. So I think this track is brilliant. I think the racing's always good around here. You can battle side by side in pretty much any corner, and even if you can't, they'll somehow make a way to. And then in qualifying, also the times genuinely are quite close. So I think qualifying tonight will be very, very interesting. I believe already Nicholas Longe is opting to start from the back of the grid.
Yeah, about to head now into the game scene. Fabrizio Donoso as well, retiring. So Q1 might be very swiftly over and done with. We know that Jake Benham isn't here tonight. And now Nicholas Longe, Fabrizio Donoso, the pair of them are retiring in the pit lane. Wouldn't be surprised if Barry Burmand also decides to start from the back. However, we do have some activity down in the pit lane. We do have Jarno Opmeer exiting out onto the circuit, along with many other drivers. At the minute, the first man out on circuit, though, is Patrick Sipos. See what he can do here tonight in Abu Dhabi. One of the great spectacles, I think, on the Formula 1 calendar. A night race always does well, and you can see Patrick now making his way in towards that first sector, of course, on a set of the intermediates.
Indeed, and obviously, yet again, we see the inters all the time at the start of quality, just so the drivers can check all of their systems, all the equipment is working as it should be, and they then have a good waste set of soft tyres if that is the case. So yeah, we'll see most of the people go out on the inters. Some people just stay in the pits, others like to get out and get a bit of early track running. Some drivers do like to get a bit of delta, but something I've noticed especially over this game a little bit, it's become a little bit scarce. You don't see many people setting those times on the intermediate tyres. And also, Luke has just confirmed to us that there's 5 drivers not qualifying, which means we should get the laps underway, so the people who are at the back get dropped to the back, and then we should get underway towards that Q2 session. So Q1, as usual, well, we've seen it before, especially last season, didn't we, Dan? We tended to tend to have a Q1 session, so going through here, Q2 will be a little bit more pressurised than usual.
Yeah, absolutely, and it could give a nice opportunity. Some drivers that typically don't make their way into the very top, as Barry Burman, there it is. He is one driver to get himself disqualified and try and start from the back. I wonder, though, who the other driver is. Of course, we know of Nico, Fabi, and Barry, of course, Jake Benham. But there's one more driver yet to retire from this session. I wonder who it is going to be. I wonder if it's Thomas Ronhart. I mean, that would be such an interesting play, to say the very least, that Thomas could just disqualify himself from qualifying and start from the back, and all of a sudden Jarno Opmeer is going to have his main title rival right at the tail end of the field, and he's going to have the best opportunity to win the championship. But Patrick Sipos making his way through this first sector. I think all of the changes that were made to this circuit were made for the better. In towards this hairpin corner, could command some potential moves, light up the inside, heavy on the brakes, should see some very fun action heading down this straight as well, in towards the heaviest braking zone along the circuit, the turn 6 chicane.
Of course, and so I think pretty much every break is on this circuit does promote some sort of overtake, and even down in towards turns 12, we've seen drivers, try and lunge up the inside or try and go around the outside. So I think around here, we'll see lots of battling all race long between all positions. Between all the positions of drivers on the circuit. As we can see, Patrick now heading up in towards that newly renovated section at turn number 9, just up the hill. To the left he goes, and then just gets himself back on the power. And obviously through this section as well, you've got to be very careful on the throttles. You can see there Patrick having a bit of a slide. That is something we can see quite commonly between all the drivers also on those softer compounded tyres. Through now in towards this slower speed section through the double left-handers before he gets towards the double right-handers, obviously where the pit lane entrance is as well. And we'll see, what does Patrick do? Does he pit or does he complete the lap? He will go and complete the lap out the final corner. We'll see what the first time will be on the intermediate tyres, and it will be 126.527, about 5 seconds off what we'll actually see. So yet again, these times mean absolutely nothing, and we still have a few drivers out on track. But I remember, I think it was earlier this season, Dan, wasn't it? Where was it Louis Welch who got knocked out on the Inters?
I think it might have been. Louis Welch did something very silly on the set of the Inter. Yeah, I think Ishmael didn't qualify. Louis Welch didn't actually get a lap time on the board. Also, I don't remember what it was, but Louis Welch did something very silly. Luckily, he's not here this evening, which is actually quite a mean thing to say, but Louis Welch not here this evening, so there's no real chance of him actually doing something that would mess himself up. As Tamas Gal comes across the line, we're watching Ismail Fashi head through the final few corners now, and Ishmael's going to have a lot of pressure riding on his shoulders. Of course, he came into the season very, very hot, and he was incredibly quick right from the get-go, led the championship until about round number 7, but Jarno Opmeer, ever since round number 3, Ishmael's last win of the season, Jarno has outscored him in every single race, and Ishmael now has to finish a minimum of 5th place in this Grand Prix to have even the slightest hope of keeping his championship hopefuls alive. So Ishmael really needs a good race today.
Of course, and you look at the start of the season, he took that 15th to first in Bahrain, and I think that caught everyone by a little bit of surprise to start that far down and finish on the top position was brilliant, and then he kept it up for the next couple of rounds. But then since then he's really dropped back, and I don't know if it's pressure or maybe he's not been able to practice as much, but he's not really been there where he has been in the past. So a big shame for Ishmael, because I think if he drove how he did in the first 3 or 4 rounds, he would still be there now and probably would be ahead of Jarno, I think, because he drove astronomically through those first few, but then since then has really had a bit of drop off, and we can see they're going quite wide at the exit to turn on as he heads down towards the slow speed section. It seems Dylan Warren, Dan, was the one driver who was going to retire as well for qualifying, so he'll be starting down near the back of the grid. And Dylan, I believe he was here with us last week or the week before, but was Ishmael's a bit of a spin coming through in towards turn 13, turn 15.
I mean, a Williams spinning off down at turn number 15. I mean, shades of, for some reason, every time we come here, there's shades of Abu Dhabi 2021, and that is very funny. Maybe he was doing that on purpose, as, yeah, I think his Q1 session is going to be over very, very soon. Ishmael Fassi into the pit lane. It's only Jed Norgren and Thomas Ronahar who need to put laps on the board to actually, no, it's not true. It's anyone beneath Nicholas Longate. They all need at least a lap on the board to get themselves into the next qualifying session. So we'll see in the next few minutes or so. Everyone's going to come out onto the circuit. Tom Manley on a set of the intermediates. He also just needs a time on the board and to get himself ahead of Nicholas Longate, and he will be safe into the next session. There's really not going to be too much action here in Q1, given that Nico, Fabi, Dylan and Barry, and of course Jake Benham, who's joining us for the race, they're all eliminated from qualifying. So Nathan, we've essentially got 11 minutes to kill.
Of course, and I think, talking about the back of the grid, we've got obviously lots of Nico, Jake, Dylan, Barry, and Fabi. They've all shown at some point, very good skill. So I think, with those 5 at the back, it's really going to shake up the grid, and we could see some, some more unknown names making themselves through in towards Q3. So this race could be all up in the air because of having drivers all in different positions. It's a little bit like chucking names in a hat, shaking it about, and then that being the grid. So I think the race could be really interesting, and that's where I think we'll also see some different strategies come out. Obviously the Ferrari guys, we know sometimes they do like to try something a little bit different when they start near the back. Sometimes they go with the normal, but sometimes they do go a little bit more adventurous, and sometimes it's worked, sometimes it's really not at all. So we'll see what what they choose to do. But also Jake Benham being at the back, we'll see can any of his games come into play to help Jarno Opmeer try and get that 3rd championship.
We'll have to wait and see. Of course, Jarno Opmeer still is going to have a massive advantage heading into the last round of the season if he doesn't take the title here this evening. So there's not too much pressure on the shoulders of the Flying Dutchman to secure it here tonight. He just needs to have a decent position. If he wins, he'll automatically take the title heading in to the final round of the season at Saudi Arabia. We're just waiting now for more laps to be on the board. I think everyone, coming out on a set of the intermediates. Duncan Hoffman, though, interestingly enough, has decided to stick it on a set of the softs. All you need is a lap on the board. That's a really interesting decision from him, because essentially now, Nathan, he's using a set of softs for nothing.
Well, I think maybe he just wants to. Maybe he's had a little bit, a little less practice. He just wants to try out these soft and see what lap time he can produce, or maybe because he knows he'd already used 2 sets in Q1, he's not really lost a set. He's just, he's gonna have the same momentum he would in Q2 anyway. It's just he's using an extra set that he probably didn't need to now. So we'll see what Duncan can do, but I don't think it's going to harm himself too much. Obviously, using that soft tire at this point, but obviously going into the next round, then at Saudi Arabia. What are your thoughts on that? Quite an interesting circuit, quite close to the walls, but in the finale, it could create some carnage, couldn't it?
For league racing, I think it is the best circuit on this F1 23 game. I was talking to Luke last week after Qatar, and I said Saudi Arabia for the last race of the season is the best possible scenario. It always garners the most views as well, so I think that also helps us out. But there is that potential off the exit of that final corner in turn number 27, Nathan, where we can see some side-by-side running up towards the line. If you recall back to, I think, season 14 or 15, I think it might have been 14, Danny Berejne beat Nicolas Longuet on the line in only his second WOR start, which he won 2 out of the 2. He beat Nicolas Longuet on the line by 1/100th of a second, 13 thousandths to be exact. And if that, imagine, Nathan, a title finale between Jan Otmar and Thomas Ronhaar, everything's on the line and it goes right to the wire. That'd be the best finish in league racing history.
He would be brilliant. So I think, that circuit, I think surprisingly, even though you're so close to the walls, drivers seem to not make that many mistakes, which is a surprise. I don't know if that's because they know once someone mistake ends them in a wall, they'd be a little bit more cautious. But we tend to see not as many people retire and make a big incident. So I think still, it is a brilliant way to end it off. As we can see, Shimon Fassi here in Abu Dhabi, a little bit further away from Saudi Arabia, goes to the top with a 25.821, and Duncan Hoffman Dan just heading down into turn 12. We'll see what he can do on these softs. I think we all know we'll go fastest, but how much is still a mystery.
Yeah, he's looking pretty confident on this lap. I don't imagine he'd be pushing all too hard, though, to get this time on the board. We'll see what he can do then as he heads now through the final few corners along this beautiful Abu Dhabi circuit. Really have come to like this track in recent years. It's a 21.716 for Duncan Hoffman ahead of Ismail Fassi. Interestingly enough, Jan Otmar invalidated, I think, on his intermediate time or something. Same might have gone for Ika Bena. Neither of them have been able to get a lap on the board, and what a silly story that would be for Jan Otmar in the peak of his title fight, where he can lock it out for the very first time this season here tonight in Abu Dhabi, and he knocks himself out in Q1.
It would be quite something, wouldn't it? It'd be a little bit like what we were talking about with Louis Welch. So he's got to hope he can not crash and he doesn't invalidate again. And I think he should make it through in towards, obviously, turns 14 and number 15 at the left hand before you get back on the power towards turns 15 and 16. The 2 final corners on this circuit, of course, and it is a brilliant flowing final sector. I think nowadays it's been made a lot better and it creates some more racing. We can see I'll make the final corner up to the line, goes into P4, and that will be him safely secured through to Q2. And I believe now, Dan, everyone who's meant to be in Q2 is in, with obviously Valentin Repair being at the bottom in 15th. We've lost obviously Nico, Fabi, Dylan, and Barry. So I think that is it now for this session. So once everyone retires, we can hopefully get our way through and towards Q2. But I'm sure someone will go out, of course, to try and get a bit of airtime.
It always happens. Someone always decides to be a little bit funny, have a little joke with their friends. Guys, look at me in the VC. And they decide to go out once again. Luckily, everyone is retiring. I'm looking at Patrick Sipos, though. I'm hoping that he doesn't come out onto the circuit. There it is. Okay, good. We're just waiting. Oh, apologies everyone there. As Duncan Hoffman also retires. Jan Otmar giving us a little bit of a drift show. Heading through now the second sector. Fingers crossed he can get in the pit lane very soon. And then we'll get this session well and truly underway into Q2, where now the pressure is going to be at its highest. You can see all your 15 drivers, Nathan, into the next session. It's a great opportunity for a lot of these guys to fight for a top 10 position when normally they wouldn't have a chance to, because, the likes of Nico, Fabi, Jake, Barry, Dylan, they're all fighting in that top 10, and now with those guys all eliminated in Q1, it gives a opportunity to those who don't actually see the light that much.
It does, and one driver, Dan, I'll be keeping my eye on is Tom Manley. What he's been doing these past few races, I still can see him ending himself in that top 5 tonight. I don't know jinx it, but I think he can do it. I think he's proven himself many times in these past few races. He's got the pace and still consistently got the pace to deliver podiums. But looking through that top 15, it is a very strong top 15, and it's one of those you can't really pick out many names who you think could go out in Q2 because they've all got pace to go through to Q3. They've all made multiple Q3 appearances, so I think we'll definitely have a bit of a heartbreak for a couple of drivers going through in towards that Q3 session because they all deserve to be in Q3.
Yeah, absolutely. And now with 4.5 minutes left to go in this session, we're just waiting for Jan Otmir to retire so we can get into the next session. But something tells me Jan Otmir doesn't want to actually call it quits. So now we have a good opportunity to talk. There it is, Jan Otmir. Thank you very much. But we have a good opportunity to talk to all of you. WOR is only 127 subscribers away from 200,000, just 20,000, which is a massive milestone for us. Please, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You can see the qualifying results on your screen, and maybe you can subscribe for an Otmir title, an Ismail Fassi resurgence, or a Thomas Ronhaar competition. We'll have to wait and see. The bottom 5 eliminated: Nicolas Longe, Fabrizio Donoso, Dylan Warren, and Barry Burman, as well as Jake Benham, all out of qualifying. So Q2 on the horizon. We'll see what happens here, Nathan.
Indeed, and we're getting our way through in towards the session, and you look at it again, and it's one of the, you just can't point out who will drop out. So I think this is going to be a key session, but mainly for Jarno, Thomas, and Ismail, because we all know they can make it to pole, but they make 1 or 2 slight mistakes here in Q2, and that could be it. That could be them starting 11th down. So they've got to be 3 drivers who are, constantly keeping up with their pace, getting those good banker laps in. So, I can see those 3 pushing quite hard on this initial run. Get a good run in, then obviously, if the end of Q2 comes and they can't get an improvement, maybe they've just got enough to see themselves through. But yeah, I'll see them definitely having a bit of a push. But lots of Shanaka Clay, who's been in Q3 multiple times, I think he's also one that'll be looking to pressure that top 10. So looking through, we've got a very close grid. Someone's going to go out that really doesn't deserve to at this rate, and also we've got to hope they don't crash and get disqualified for the 5-place grid penalties, because we've seen it happen a couple of times this season, and it seems it's getting worse and worse every single time.
And this is something that's been a part of the game since literally day 1. I don't know how this hasn't been picked up. How has it been fixed? It seems like the most easiest fix in league race or just in online. Surely you can't block someone on an out lap. You're not going to get disqualified from that. It's so stupid. Honestly, it is ruining things. I think Ben Jabber-Conye was a victim to it a few weeks ago. So fingers crossed, before any sort of semblance of esports returns, we can get that one fixed. However, Nathan, let's head back to the game scene and witness everyone in qualifying. Of course, the big thing here is that no one aside from Duncan Hoffman actually used a set of the soft compound tyres in that first session, meaning everyone here is going to be on a fresh set, and we're going to see some very, very quick laps.
Of course, and Jarno Otmir was one to get on with it. He come out in the train around where those 2 McLarens are, I think, between the McLaren and the Alpine, and he literally got his foot down and wanted to get on with it. He's now sitting second in that train of those qualifying, so he wants to get on with his lap and be one of the first to set a time on the board. Obviously behind him is, I believe, Thomas Ronhaar, and then Ismail Fassi is somewhere as well. I think he's behind Thomas. So the 3 championship protagonists in championship order looking to set their qualifying lap, so we'll see what they can get underway with. But Duncan Hoffman, yet again, will be the one to be first out on a set of the soft stand, and we'll see what he can do here. But Duncan, I think he's definitely hoping for a Q3, so he's got to get all the pressure out now and just get a good lap on the board.
Yeah, we'll see what happens as this session continues. 1, 2, and 3 in terms of track order is all occupied by Dutch drivers. The focus, I think, tonight has got to be on Jarno Otmir. 17.1 in the first sector for the Flying Dutchman. We'll see what he can do as he heads now into sector 2. This is all about the straight line speed, and following in the wheel tracks of another driver, you're going to have a great opportunity to look up the inside, heading in towards turn number 6. No brake markers whatsoever. They've been told already in the Discord here this evening that they need to get their references down so they know where to brake, as Jan Otmir takes that first chicane along this circuit with absolute perfection. Normally that would have been 1 and 2, but now with the new reprofiled circuit, it's a long-winded uphill left-handed corner. Beautiful to see these modern day Formula 1 cars just stick to the circuit. Now in towards sector 3, very technical do in this part of the track, heading underneath through the double left-hander of that hotel section, beautifully lit to light up the night sky here in Abu Dhabi. Duncan Hoffland about to approach the line. We'll see what he can do. He will dive it into the pit lane. That means Jarno Opmeer will be the first man to come across the line. The benchmark today, a 1 minute 21.431, immediately beaten by Thomas Ronhaar.
Brilliant up there from Thomas, a 0.2 and Ishmael Fassi just behind him as well. So Jarno's lap, definitely not the quickest though, the 0.431, about 2 tenths back from Thomas Ronhaar's time. We can see Ruben Pedreño into the top three there in the McLaren ahead of his teammate Patrick Seaposs, who popped himself into P5. A few more cars coming through. It'll be Philip Preschneider up into P4. Watkins, Shanaka Kledo, he's coming through the final corner as Van Brevet goes third. Shanaka Clay stays in 8th position. We've got Ikebeno coming through as well in towards the final corner. What can he do in qualifying here? Up towards on in 10th at the moment. Where does he put himself up to? Goes into 2nd. So at the moment it's going to be a Sabre 1-2. Thomas ahead of Ika and Dan. Ika's, he's not had the best season so far. To see him up into P2 is absolutely brilliant.
Nice stuff there from Ika. I think he had some troubles last time out in Qatar. He had a decent start to the season, but he also has missed quite a few races here in season 16. That's why we've not really seen too much of the Spaniard, but he's doing well here at the beginning of Q2. Very fine margins at the top of the order. Let's have a look at the gap to the leader. The top four all separated by just a 1/10 of a second. It's Sauber, Williams, and Valentin Bruffaert, very impressive last time out in Qatar. Looking like he's continuing along that same strength that he had in Losail in towards Abu Dhabi tonight. So we'll see what he can do with just 10 minutes left to go in this session. 5 drivers in the drop zone, all of them yet set a lap. Duncan Hoffland, Ben Jabberconny, Luke Smith, Jed Norgrove, and Tamas Gao. I know for a fact Luke Smith invalidated on his run. We saw Duncan Hoffland come into the pit lane. So I'd imagine these drivers already, Nathan, struggling a little bit with the track limits.
They are indeed, and we can see a few more cars going out onto circuit with the two Hasses, Tamas Gao and Ben Jabberconny, double Hungarian lineup for the Haas team tonight, so we'll see what they could extract, and they're both going onto circuit together. Then we've got as well, I believe, will that be Duncan Hoffland and Tom Manley, and of course Jed Norgrove onto circuit with Luke Smith as well. So those 5 out onto, those 6 out onto the circuit now to get their first initial laps underway. Obviously Duncan Hoffland was the first to set his lap before, but unfortunately got an invalidation, hence why he's down in the drop zone. So I'm sure we'll see him bounce himself up a little bit higher in that grid so far. But the top, this bottom 6 here, they've got a lot of pressure on them, haven't they, Dan? They haven't got those initial runs in, and if they can't find a good run now, they could still be in that bottom 5, meaning the pressure they got into the end of Q2 will be absolutely monumental on them.
Yeah, lots of pressure to get into the next session, because I think everyone sees it as more attainable at this point. Now that the heavy hitters are already out of Q1 doing their last to first challenges, it means that Q3 is a real reachable goal for some of these drivers who typically get knocked out in Q1, maybe find their way into Q2. Now they have a real shot of fighting for pole position, and so everyone is going to be hungry, fighting, clawing for that final spot in the session. One name very interested to see in that bottom 5 is Luke Smith. We know how good he is along qualifying, invalidating on that first run. Going to hurt his confidence ever so slightly. Tom Manley also being in 10th is a bit of a worry, winning last time out in Qatar, taking 2 podiums in a row at the minute. He is in some fine form, but elimination in Q2 could be very dire for his race tonight, as Ben Jabberconny will get his lap underway, Nathan.
Indeed, we can see now the Haas heading down towards turn number 1, obviously breaking about that 50-metre ball, getting your car nice and turning, get back on the power on the exit, heading up the hill in towards turns 2 and 3 before you drop back down once again in towards turn 5. There you can see Bench just passing one of the McLarens out on an out lap as he heads in towards the end of that first sector. 17.170 there for Bench Jabberconny. Very nice opening sector for him on this lap. Goes purple on my screens as the now heads down with some DRS in towards the chicane at turns number 6 and 7. We'll see what it can do down in towards this braking zone. He'll break just around that 100-metre-ish board, but there's no buzz to watch, so it's all down to reference as he slides the car in very nicely there from the Haas in that first and second sector. We see him now with some more DRS stand heading down into turn 9, and obviously with this double detection, obviously with turn down to turn 6 and turn 9, isn't that could create some quite interesting racing?
Yeah, absolutely. It means that maybe some drivers are going to look to be a bit strategic heading in towards that part of the track. Actually, I think that comes after the second DRS detection zone comes after the chicane. So if you're not ahead So it's really awkward, to be honest, because normally it's a few corners before, or like a corner, a braking zone before you actually get to the straight. That is literally at the beginning of the straight. It's really quite awkward around this circuit. It could definitely cause some strategy to come into players. Ben Chabakonya will now cross the line. It's only P9. It's an okay lap at 21.4 from him. There's a few other drivers on a run like that, similar to him. It's Tamas Gal comes to the line, 21.1. The Hungarian ace in qualifying, doing great.
Yeah, and Duncan Hoffman had a bit of a spin into the final corner, caught the car, but nearly ended up in the metal barriers. Big shame there for Duncan Hoffman. Was on a decent lap as well, so big shame for the Aston Martin to not get that lap finished and underway. We can see now Ben Chabakonya actually gets dropped down in towards that bottom 5. Tom Manley goes up into only P12, so big shame for the AlphaTauri driver. We've got Luke Smith as well heading through in towards the final 2 corners. Where can he pop the Alpine? His teammates in P7 being Philip Preshneder. Where can Luke go? Up to line, goes into second. Brilliant lap there from Luke Smith, and that drops Jan Watmir very close to the drop zone. He's only up here, Dan, by nearly a tenth of a second.
That is very, very worrying that Jan Watmir could be in the drop zone after all these laps are completed. We'll see what the Flying Dutchman can do as he heads out of the final corner. Is it going to be a nice improvement? Indeed it is. Splits to 2 Sauber cars, a 1 minute 21.242 from him, 300 slower than Thomas Ronhaar, who has not ventured back out onto the circuit. Shanaka Clay on a run at the minute. He's improving in the second sector, but is invalid. He'll dive back into the pit lane. It'd be a big loss to see Shanaka be eliminated from qualifying this early on in this session. What about Valentin Bruffair heading now in towards the final few corners? Very impressive last time out in Qatar. Can he continue that form here into Abu Dhabi? He'll come across the line, just about to jump ahead of his teammate Ismail Fassi, who also is still in the pit lane at 21.272. As Nathan, now the times are coming thick and fast.
Indeed, and then we can see the drop zone after the first 2 runs is Patrick Sipos in P11, Bet Chabakonya in P12, Tom Manley P13, Shanaka Clay P14, and Duncan Hoffland in 15th place. So all of those need some big improvements to get themselves through and towards Q3. We can see the gap though. We're seeing like Jed Norgrove down to Tom Manley, or even down to Shanaka Clay. He's only half a tenth of a second. But it's the fact of everyone else is going to be finding improvements. They need at least 2 or maybe even 3 tenths to get themselves safe through towards Q3. So it's going to be quite close. And the margins will be very tight, and I don't think anyone really, apart from maybe the top 2, Dan, is going to be safe going through and towards Q3, because these, the improvements they're going to be making, you could see already people on point 4s getting up towards the point 2s and point 1s. It's going to be quite close going in towards Q3, and I think the improvement will be quite vast over the whole grid.
Absolutely, the entire field, barring Duncan Hoffman's 1 minute 24, is separated by just 3.5 tenths of a second. So Shanaka Clay in 14th position still has a realistic goal of actually getting himself out of that drop zone and into Q3. Let us know, everyone in the live chat, who you are supporting here tonight and who you think is going to be competing for pole position. We have 3.5 minutes left to go. Reminder that the title could be decided here tonight. Jan Watmir can take home his 3rd WOR PC Tier 1 Championship following the permutations that are in the pinned message in the live chat. Make sure you check that out. And before everyone heads back onto the circuit for the final parts of Q2, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are ever so close to hitting 20,000. The big 2-0 would be absolutely amazing if we could hit that here tonight. So please do consider dropping us a subscribe. As Nathan, now more drivers heading onto the circuit. It's Philip Preshneder in P9, maybe a bit of a spot of bother. He's wanting to get out early and see if he can get himself into the final parts of qualifying.
Indeed, and if just looking into the chat there, it seems we're at 19.9 thousand followers, subscribers now. I can't say the exact number, but I know we're at 19.9. So less than 100 now, guys. Still, we can get to 20,000 subscribers down, which we thought at the start of this game we was around, I think, 12,000. I don't think we thought we'd be close to 20,000 by this point, but now we're very, very close. So we could even be over 20,000 by the end of this game, which is, of course, brilliant indeed to see. But a few more drivers now, pretty much everyone on the lap heading onto circuit. This end of Q2 could be quite interesting, and also then with everyone being so close together, they've got to make sure they can make it to the end of the lap before being hampered by the time.
Nathan, look how many drivers are in that. Yeah, there we go. But of course it's bench as well. Can getting the grid place penalty for blocking. I mean, it always happens. These drivers find a way to block themselves on qualifying. There's 13 of them on that one straight alone. It is absolutely ridiculous. So as the session is beginning to draw to a close, I want to play my favourite game with the viewers, and that is of course where everyone is from. We pride ourselves on being the World Online Racing League, and we want to know where in the world you are watching from. We've seen some fantastic shouts from Indonesia in the past, all the way in South Africa, in South America. Literally, Nathan, we touch every single corner of the globe, and I want to know where everyone is from already. Someone hailing in from Hong Kong, that's Mr. SDQ I don't know how to say that name. So many already coming out. We've got Alberia, I don't know if that's a country. I think it is actually. Apologies there. Scotland, India, Mordor, Norway, Ireland, Straya, Austria, Stockholm, Sweden, South Africa, Virginia, Hungary, Nigeria, Poland, Ireland, all over the place. Algeria, oh my gosh, so many, Nathan. Kubicaland, I'm seeing that is of course Poland. We got Uruguay too, Mexico, Brazil, Namibia. Oh my word, Nathan, we're all over the shop. But here tonight, you and I, we're watching from very rainy England here today, but we are watching a very nice Abu Dhabi circuit. Once again, incredible to see everyone all over the globe.
Of course, and we can see some laps getting underway now. I believe it'll be Philip Presnay who done the first to set his lap. He's just heading through. Had to turn on in towards that DRS section. Obviously, of course, in towards turn on. Sorry, at that left up hand here. We'll see what he can do in this middle sector. What time will it be for Presnay? It's going to be up by 0.5 of a second, which could pop him around. Well, it'd only pop into P8, so he needs to find a lot in this final sector. But then again, this final sector is normally where you can probably gain the most time, especially in these slow sections.
Yeah, and the clock has struck 0, so now no new lap times can be started. We'll see what Philip Presnay can do as he heads through the final few corners. Could be on the cusp of elimination. See what he can do as he heads now through the final corner. What is it going to be for the Alpine? He'll come across the line only in P9, level with Ruben Pedreño, but Ruben is on a lap at the minute. What about Tamas Gout? Actually down on his time, so he's not going to be improving on that 21.1, but I doubt anyone is really going to be able to contest him with that lap there. Shanika Clay up towards the line, sees himself into P7. A decent effort from him there. Ben Chabaconi eliminating Philip Presnay in P9, and now he will edge ever so closer to that drop zone. Patrick Sipos out of this qualifying session. Ruben is in the drop zone. He'll come across the line and eliminate Ben Chabaconi. Jed Norgrove, Thomas Ronald comes the line. Jed Norgrove in the drop zone at the minute will get himself into P4 and out of Q2. Tom Manley, the winner from last time out in Qatar, could be facing elimination. Will he be able to get himself into the final part of qualifying? He's the only man that can eliminate Shanika Clay from this session. What is it going to be? Tom Manley into the final part of qualifying, and Shanika Clay eliminated there by the race winner from last week's round at Qatar. But it is Thomas Ronhart at the very top of the order. Nathan, how about that though? The top 5 separated by less than a tenth.
Absolutely brilliant. The top 7 separated by just over a tenth, and we can see all the way down to 14th separated by just over 1/4 of a second. The gap between Shanika Clay and Valentine Brufair was just, 35 thousandths of a second, so very close between those two going through and towards Q3. And a big shame, of course, for those in the drop zone being Shanika Clay, Ruben Pedreño, Ben Chabaconi, Philip Presnay and Patrick Sipos. And that's 3 of the race clutch crew out in Q2. Big shame indeed for the team.
Yeah, they've all just got completely wiped. It's like when you go into a little campaign game with all your friends, and you're excited to get to the boss level and then fight it together, and then all of a sudden all your party members get eliminated. Luke Smith is in that position. He is the lone race clutch driver in the final part of Q3. But now you've seen the top 10 drivers here tonight. I want everyone to drop their predictions in the live chat. We have Tom Manley, Ika Boehner, Jarno Otmir, Valentine Brufair, Duncan Hoffland, Ishmael Fassi, Luke Smith, Jed Norgrove, Tamas Gal, and Thomas Ronhar, all in the final part of this qualifying session. And we want to hear from you. Who do you think is going to be taking pole position? Nathan, I'm going to turn to you now. Who's going to take it?
I don't know. Looking through, it's yet again really close, and you can't really decide. I think, I'm gonna go with Thomas Ronhaar. He went quickest in Q2, and I know he's quick around here, so I'm gonna go with Thomas Ronhaar for pole. Dan, what about you? Who do you think? I know you can't go for Thomas now, but as the other 9, who's your pole?
I don't really know. I'll go with Ishmael, I guess. Both of Jarno's contenders, but we'll have to wait and see if that is going to come true. Already, I'm seeing more predictions for George Morgan than anyone else, which is very interesting to see. Lucas Dirksen and Mike Savage are in the same boat. Elliot is saying that you're going to be taking a poll, Nathan. Let's see some of the real predictions heading into the final parts of qualifying. Broken Britain is saying Luke Smith along with Fire Vixie. We'll see who else. I'm trying to wade through all of the silly predictions because none of them are true. We got Winifred saying take pole Pogmere. That's Jan Otmere to take the pole. Tacos is doing 3 predictions with Tamas, Ronhaar, Otmere. I'm going to say that is your top 3. What about any others? Anakin Skywalker to take pole. John 4 is saying Jarno Otmere to take the pole position. Jarno once again. Ikebana is a prediction in there. It seems like a lot of them are going the way of Jarno Otmere, which is very interesting to see, considering, Nathan, that we actually don't consider him to be the best qualifier on the grid.
Yeah, I've always said it. I don't think he's even the top 3, top 4 qualifier on the grid. We never really see him on pole that often. But he always brings it back in that race. His racecraft, his race pace, his race IQ is always at the top. So, I think even if he qualifies then in 15th, he can probably still get him up towards a podium. So we'll see what obviously Jarno can do in this qualifying session. A few drivers onto track now. Tamas Galt being the first. Obviously, Tamas did well in Q1, well in Q2 as well. Obviously, couldn't find that improvement on his Q2 run, but still safely in P2. So we'll see what he can do on this first run in Q3, but I think Tamas Gal's also another driver, Dan, that we can see fighting for pole because he's a brilliant driver. He's been on pole, I think, once or twice this season already. I think he's definitely also quite a candidate.
Yeah, absolutely. As I'll bring us now back over to the game scene, you can see everyone exiting out on to the circuit. Not many predictions for Tamas Gal to take pole position. Nathan, of course, you and I, we have great experience commentating over this guy, and we know how good he is in qualifying. We'll have to wait and see if he is able to top this session. Of course, that initial time from him, a 21.116, I believe it was. An incredible lap to start off that session, only bested by Thomas Ronhaar, if I'm not mistaken. I think he is going to have a great shot to take it here.
He is indeed. I think everyone on the grid has got a great shot to take it. I think, going through towards this session, it's one of those where, yet again, you can't really predict who will take it. It's just more of a guess and, just guess at the 10 names that are in the hat. But obviously, I'm going to stick with Thomas Ronhaar. I believe he's shown, brilliant performance so far this season, so far in his qualifying. So I think he's definitely one of the ones that will be looking to take it, one of the strongest to take it. But I can also see Jan Otmere out on track. He's at the back of the train along with Thomas. So those two, leaving it a bit longer, going to be setting in the final lap times in these first runs of Q1. But the first, of course, will still be Tamas Gal. We've got Duncan Hoffland there, sitting right behind the back of the Hassan, and behind him, I believe, will be Valentin Brufair, who also, Dan, has been doing a brilliant job in qualifying. Did a really good job in qualifying back in Qatar. Is into the Q3 once again here in Abu Dhabi, so we'll see what he can do, and maybe it's the fact he loves the Middle East.
Yeah, I mean, Valentin is a driver that I'm always very high on. I'll never be shy to show my bias, Nathan. I'm not gonna lie here. I'll always show my bias to the PlayStation drivers, especially the likes of Valentin and Duncan that I commentated on all of those years ago, all the way back on F1 2020 and F1 2021. But you're absolutely right that Valentin was very impressive last time out in Qatar. He seemingly is doing very well here tonight. He's making up, of course, the Williams pairing of himself and Ishmael Fassi, both of them being able to get into this final part of qualifying. It seems like this has been a relatively good team effort for a lot of these teams. Alpha Tauri have also got both their drivers in the final parts of qualifying in Tom Manley and Jed Norgrove. And if we'll touch on Jed Norgrove in just a minute. And of course, Sauber have got both Ikebana and Thomas Ronhaar. But I want to touch on Jed Norgrove as Tamas Gal is completing his lap. We'll watch Jed here because Jed is doing an absolutely fantastic job of raising awareness for cancer. Of course, his brother was recently diagnosed, and I saw on his Twitter today that he shaved his head in out of respect to him there, and that is so incredible of him to do that. And, you know, I just want to bring attention to that and really shed the limelight on Jed Norgrove for just a minute, Nathan.
Of course, and if you can head over to his Twitter, I'm sure any donation links are all over there. So I believe his Twitter is probably something like just Jed Norgrove. So I'm sure if you type his name in, it'll pop up. So of course, you know, it'd be nice for everyone else to also show their respect and support.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Jed Norgrove as he will come across the line. Tamas Gal has set a 1 minute 21.046, and Valentin Bruffair did the exact same lap time as Duncan Hoffland. As the stream isn't ended. I think something's happened. Everyone's lying in the live chat. Something's happened. Yeah, please do refresh it. I think my internet had a little bit of a moment there. For some reason, this has been happening all night tonight, but I believe that my Ethernet has now come back. So please do make sure you refresh your page, and we should still hopefully be on your screens.
Of course, and we can see Ismail Fassi to the top there with a 120.985. Brilliant up there from the Spaniard who's still trying to fight for this title. We can see Thomas Ronhard coming through as Luke Smith goes to pole by a 10th.5. Brilliant laps on there from the LP, and Ronhard goes into second there, still over a 10th.5 back from Luke Smith. What a lap time from the Alpine driver, and Jana Watmir goes into fourth, just behind the back of Ismail Fassi and Thomas Ronhard. Obviously, we've got 5,000 separating Ronhard and Fassi, then also another about 20,000 separating Fassi and Watmir. Brilliant gaps between second, third, and fourth. What a time there from Luke Smith! Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely great stuff from Luke Smith there. 1 minute 20.818 coming out from him. Not many predictions going the way of Luke Smith. That was a very, very nice job from him to get himself on to provisional P1. And now the grid really is beginning to take shape with just 4 minutes left to go in this session. I think I'm being gaslit, Nathan, in the live chat because everyone's saying that all my audio is just gone. So I'm not too sure what's going on there, but I'm pretty sure everything is fine on my OBS. I think just, you know, if people can actually hear me in the live chat, you know, tell everyone to refresh the stream, and then it should be okay. What's up, Nathan?
I think there might be a little bit of line because I've got the stream on my second screen the whole time. It's been fine the whole while. I've not had to refresh it or anything. It's been fine all the way through. So I think people having a bit of a lie in the chat to us because, yeah, on my screen it is all fine and the audio has got no issues whatsoever, and also Danny's fine in Discord as well. So yeah, the only issues there would be Discord, and that'd be me cutting out, not Dan. So some little cheeky people in the chat trying to trick Dan, and for once, Dan, there actually isn't an issue with your stream. Normally there's something going on.
No, something did happen, to be fair. I've got 9,000 dropped frames. That was my internet actually just dropping out for a minute, and that is why everything messed up. But now we are back, and you shouldn't have any issues. So yeah, very interesting indeed. And I've actually seen something from Joe Timesplitter saying audio cuts off if you haven't subscribed. You're absolutely right. We are very, very close. We're about 70 away from 20,000. I think that we have we have definitely got enough time here in this stream today, Nathan, to reach that big goal of 20k. Would be amazing to hit tonight.
Well, last week in Qatar, we went from 19.6 to 19.8, I believe. So I think we've got more than enough, you know, to be able to do it. We've got over 1,300 people in the live chat watching along. So make sure, if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so you can get us to 20,000 subscribers, which is a number, Dan. You know, it's one of the numbers you don't really think about until you're there, is it? It's such a big number, is it? 20,000 people subscribing to come in, and you've got to think that's not even, you know, close to the amount of people that actually watch us.
I know, that is absolutely amazing to think that 20,000 people have come and gone in the past and have been fans of WOR. And I always like to think that in terms of the grand scheme of YouTube, 20,000 isn't actually a lot of subscribers. But even when I was streaming to like 5 people all the way back on F1 2019, just thinking about it in the sense that if 5 people are in your room watching you, you're gonna feel a bit of a big man. So to have 20,000 people subscribing to the WOR channel, that's like 20,000 people wanting to be your friend. It's absolutely mental. We have 1,000 people in my room at the minute watching this stream. And Nathan, I'm sure maybe half of them are in your house as well. I don't really know how we're going to work that one out there, but it's just immense to see the growth that we have. Thank you guys so much all for tuning in here tonight, and we will present to you an incredible end to Q3. Tamas Gal, the first man out on circuit, Duncan Hoffland following in behind him, and then I believe it's Valentin Bruffaert, one of the the Sauber cars of Thomas Ronhaar is there as well. Thomas, you got to put his name in the hat to potentially usurp Luke Smith.
Indeed. Well, he's my prediction, so I want him to get pole no matter what. But I think he also wants to get pole himself for the fact of the championship. But, you know, we'll give them one more chance to get their predictions in. The last laps haven't come through yet. So, guys, quickly, get your final, predictions in for who you think will take pole position. Because all of these 10 have got the chance to do so. The grid is separated by just 0.4 of a second. With Luke Smith, brilliant lap with a .818. And still will be, it'll still be quite a margin for Thomas and Ishmael to beat it. Never mind all those behind. So make sure to get your predictions in quickly. As Tamas Gal is coming through into the final corner to begin the first runs at the final part of Q3, and he will also be looking to have a bit of pressure on him to take pole here tonight, Dan.
Here comes Tamas Gal then, very well known for being a strong qualifier. He will head now in towards the first sector of this circuit for the final time in Q3. Is this a lap worth 20,000 subscribers on the WOR YouTube channel? We'll have to wait and see. Heading now towards the end of the first sector. It's a good start for him. He's up by 300ths of a second now. Off the exit of turn number 5, foot flat to the floor as DRS opens wide. Heading now in towards turn number 6. We'll turn on the telemetry to see his top speed, reaching speeds of excess up to 326 kilometers per hour at the braking zone. Absolutely sound braking margins from Tamas Gal here now off the exit of the chicane and on towards once again another DRS straight at the end of the second sector. We'll see what his improvement is here. He's flying on this lap at the minute. He's lost a little bit of time though in sector 2. This isn't looking like a pole lap from the Hungarian driver, but he's still going to have to keep on going. There's no point giving up now. He's got everything to gain in this final sector as the clock has struck 0. No new laps can be started. Watch out for Luke Smith, the last man who is going to come across the line. He's already on provisional pole. Nathan, he is going to have the best track conditions as now Tamas Gal will come across the line. What is it going to be for him at the end of this session? He loses time on that lap and is unfortunately down and in P5.
Yeah, into P4 then. Duncan also couldn't find any improvements. A few more laps coming through. Valentin Bruffaert, where does he go? Up into second there. Brilliant lap from the Williams, and Thomas Ronhaar's invalidate, so no improvement for the Dutchman, Thomas Ronhaar. What can Ishmael Fassi do? He's coming through into the final few corners, but I believe before him will be Jarno Watmere. Tom Manley into second place. Brilliant from him. Jed Norgrove into the top 6 of the .992. What can Jarno Watmere do? Can he take pole? No, he can't, but he will be into the top 4. Ishmael Fassi also having an invalidation, so he's down to P6. Can Luke Smith find improvements? No, he can't. So Luke Smith on pole ahead of Tom Manley, ahead of Valentin Bruffaert, and then Jarno, Thomas, and Ishmael 4th, 5th, and 6th.
And no one could beat Luke Smith's time. He'll come into the pit lane, starting on pole position, getting the deadest stare in the eyes from the Alpine mechanic. That is the most terrifying thing I have ever witnessed there. Luke Smith on pole position by over 1/10 of a second ahead of Tom Manley in P2. Valentin Bruffaert in 3rd position. A great qualifying once again from the German driver. And how about that? Jarno Watmere starting in P4 ahead of his championship rival in Thomas Ronhaar. Ishmael Fassi. Wow, how about that? The 3 championship rivals all starting in the grid slots next to each other. Ishmael Fassi in P6, P7 for Jed Norgrove, P8 is Tamas Gal, 9th is Duncan Hoffland, and rounding out that grid is Ika Kleiner, but it is Luke Smith starting on pole position for this race. We know how good he is in qualifying. He's done a stellar job here today.
Indeed, and with obviously Jarno and Thomas and Ishmael being so close together, it's 17,000 separating the 3 championship protagonists. It's going to be very close, isn't it, Dan? It's going to be something which I think hopefully they don't make contact into turn 1 and they don't make contact in towards turn 6, because we know the first 2 or 3 laps is where we see the drivers try to make improvements on their initial positions before they kind of drop back in towards that DRS turn and just pull themselves along until the pit stop. So we'll see a little bit of action between those 3, I believe, on the first few laps. And I think also they want to get a bit of battling in for the entertainment, of course, between, for their content creation. So we'll see, we'll see what they get up to. But either way, this race will be brilliant because Luke Smith on pole position didn't even get any improvements in his final run. Absolutely brilliant, of course, from the Alpine. And obviously, Tom Manley yet again in the top 2. He's been performing brilliantly. But Valentin Bruffaert in P3, sorry. That is a really good result, isn't it, Dan?
Absolutely. I was saying I've always been high on Valentin Brufet, and he's done a great job in these recent weeks. You might be right. He might just be a fan of these Middle Eastern circuits. He's done a great job in Qatar, and he did a great job here this evening. But now heading into the race, the big thing that we've got to talk about is that all the championship rivals starting alongside each other on the grid here tonight, and they're actually in their championship order at the minute. Jan Watmir leading the way from Thomas Ronhaar, and Ismail Fassi starting 6th just behind them. Let's have a look at the permutations heading into tonight. Jarno Watmir is your champion if any of these scenarios play out. If Jarno Watmir wins this race, Nathan, nobody else, no matter what Ishmael and Thomas do, they cannot win the title in season 16. And so if the Dutchman takes victory here tonight in Abu Dhabi, it's curtains for this season.
Of course, and to be starting in P4, we know for a fact that his qualifying is less stronger than his race pace and his race craft. So this could be quite scary for the likes of Thomas and Ishmael, making them kind of want to get a bit of a move on at the start of this race. So that's the thing they want to do is finish, of course, behind Jarno Watmir. So Jarno's got a lot of pressure on him, I suppose, as well. But at least he knows that if it doesn't end tonight, it will most likely end for him in his favour next week in Saudi Arabia. So we'll just see what these drivers can manage. But we do know, I believe a couple of seasons back, or last season, Jarno Watmir was racing here, and he had a bit of a spin, didn't he, Dan? I don't know if it was here or over in PSG. I know he had a bit of a spin somewhere after a bit of contact. So he's going to hope that doesn't happen again.
Truth be told, I don't remember if it was here or PSGL, but one thing, of course, I do know is that Jarno Watmir took his Season 13 championship here at this circuit, and there was actually in a title fight with Thomas Ronhaar. Ruben Pedreño was also involved. Essentially, two Spanish drivers have just swapped over, because Ruben, of course, is from Spain. He was in that title fight. Ismail Fassi has just he's just taken his place, and we're having the exact same situation 3 seasons later here in season 16. We are in for a fantastic title fight right towards the end, potentially, of this Grand Prix. If not, Saudi Arabia is where it will conclude, and it is going to be an epic show. Make sure you are subscribed for that, because we are within 30 subscribers, I think, of making it to 20k, if I am not mistaken. Please do, if you haven't already. We have 1,600 people watching at the minute. If you have not already, please subscribe to the WOR YouTube channel and help us reach our goal of 20,000. to be a huge milestone to reach here this evening. Nathan, we're getting ready to head into the race, and the big thing we also have to talk about is the likes of Nicholas Longe, Barry Burman, Fabrizio Donoso, Jake Benham, Dylan Warren, all of those guys starting from the back. These guys normally fighting it up in Q3, starting right at the back of the order, and they're going to be climbing their way up the grid.
Indeed, and we know, those are very quick drivers, and they all, fight normally in that top 10. So we might see those guys make a bit of, a charge towards the end and end up being in a position to be in the podium, to be in that top 5. So a lot of pressure on those at the back to try and push forward, and that's where we might see a few different strategies being played out by those, maybe going a little bit softer on the tyre compounds compared to others being on a harder compound, just so they can get that initial burst of speed, pit earlier, get a heavy undercut, and then just try and defend. That's what we'll probably see those do. Although I also just go for the traditional, just follow what everyone else does. The most, normally we do see quite a few people start on the hards, so we might see that also happen for them. But the likes of Jake Benham, he could be put in a position to try and help his teammate. Ike Boehner could be in a position to try and help Thomas Ronhaar, and also Valentin Brufet being ahead of Jarno Watmir. We'll see if he can do anything to help Ismail Fassi. I think, normally we don't always see lots of teamwork happen, but when it comes down to a championship, I'm sure we will definitely see something be put in the works. And, well, we could see quite an interesting Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And it feels weird saying a total charge in Abu Dhabi, because you automatically think, Dan, it's the final round. But no, it's the second to the final round.
Yeah, it's a little bit surreal here tonight. But if you've seen my expressions, you can see that I'm very widely smiling at the minute. I've checked our subscriber count, and we have done it. 20,000 people subscribed to WOR. Thank you all so much. And we are going to bring to you tonight an incredible race here this evening. It is absolutely immense, the growth that we've seen on this YouTube channel. F123 by far has been the greatest game for us, but we're not stopping here. F124, we're going to reach newer and newer heights. So to every one of you watching in the live chat, Bulbasaur's just there, by the way. I put him right up before. There you go. I'm pointing to him now. You can see Bulbasaur's right there. But you can all, you can all pat yourselves on the back because you are a part of this. Thank you guys so much for subscribing to the WOR YouTube channel. Absolutely incredible, and we appreciate every single one of you watching here tonight.
Indeed, it's a brilliant. You can see it on the screen, 20,000 subscribers. It's absolutely amazing. But we want to get more, and we're going to try and get ourselves even higher for F124. So make sure if you haven't subscribed, you still subscribe. We're not done here at 20,000. We want to get ourselves even higher. And then, 7,000, 8,000 subscribers in just one game cycle, half a game cycle, is absolutely brilliant. And I think even 2 years ago, we was nowhere near this. I think we would probably be around 2,000 back 2-3 years ago. So absolutely brilliant to see everyone getting involved in the live chat, getting themselves subscribed to the channel, and also making sure to get the notification bell so you can see when obviously we go here live on the channel, because we don't just see when we do all the other tiers, along with as well the Iron Man League, which I believe is on Thursdays, and also the console division and the World Division, I believe, on the console team events. I'll be honest, I don't really know much about that. I think it's called World. Legacy Division, the WRLD division. That's also the console side, which I think also promotes very good racing. So make sure to head over to there as well. So nearly every day, Dan, we're live on the channel.
Yeah, racing all week with our console tiers. Legacy Division, Iron Man League, and of course your PC tiers, the Premier tier, if you want to say, here tonight, every single Sunday. We're only here for 2 more rounds though, here tonight in Abu Dhabi, and of course next week in I keep getting mixed up, in Saudi Arabia. Nathan, of course, I said it. Saudi is one of the best circuits on this grid for league racing. Thank you to Goto with the 199 super chat as well. Thank you for your congratulations. Very much appreciated. I'm reading all of your messages, and you're all incredibly kind to both myself and Nathan. And a lot of the time, it doesn't seem like we're actually reading the chats, but that is absolutely the opposite. We read every single one of them. We love interacting with all of you, and we appreciate every nice message we get.
Of course, and well, now the time has come down. We're getting ready to begin.
Oh, yeah.
The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. I've been told that they're readying up, and I can see on my screen we've got 25 seconds remaining till we head in towards the lobby, and this could be an absolute spectacle to watch. 29 laps of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix circuit, and 20 drivers going hell to nail all the time, and with our 3 championship rivals sitting within all 3 positions of each other, 4th, 5th and 6th. This could be quite an ending, Dan. And also the top 3 being Luke Smith, Tom Manley and Van Team Fair. We could also see a new winner here tonight in WR Season 16. So either way, we've got a brilliant evening upon us.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to join you trackside for round number 11 after a quick word from our sponsors, so we'll see you in just a minute's time.
It's the home of sim racing leagues. Our management tools allow you to recruit drivers and monitor their ratings and live split. Find this and more at gridfinder.com. Sign up.
Welcome back, everyone. Trackside here in Abu Dhabi, getting ready for what could be the race that crowns Jarno Opmeer a 3-time WOR champion. He'll be writing 2 records if he takes victory here tonight, of course, being the first ever 3-time champion and the first man to win it back to back. The stakes are higher than ever, and now I want to hear from everyone in the live chat and yourself, Nathan. Who is winning this race?
Well, I'm not going to go with the 3 championship protagonists, because the last thing I want to do is rig it. So I'm going to go with Luke Smith. Start on pole to win for Luke Smith here tonight.
You know what? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to predict at the same time a race win and a championship. in Jan Otmir, but we'll see what happens. 5 red lights. Luke Smith leading the way in towards turn number 1, and we are green in Abu Dhabi. Luke Smith getting off the line very well on his set of the soft compound of tyres. Jan Otmir with a flying start, looking up the inside of Valentin Bruffaert. Ismail Fassi as well on his set of the soft compound of tyres is all over the back of the Flying Dutchman as they approach turn number 5 for the very first time. This very late braking zone could invite Ismail to go up the inside and make his way into P4, and indeed he does. At the end of the first sector, Luke Smith leading the way, head of Tom Manley.
Indeed, we can see there Ismail Fassi now making a move to get himself into 3rd position ahead of Valentin Bruffaert. Brilliant move, and now Jan Otmir looking to get himself ahead of Valentin as well in towards turn 6. Can he get himself ahead of Ismail? No, he can't, but he does clear one of the Williams as they head through now in towards that chicane up the hill, down towards turn 9. We can see Thomas Ronhard losing positions behind his teammates, being Ikebana, and also we can see someone at the back having a bit of a spin. That might be Patrick C. pass. Or Philip Pressure to come into a bit of contact somewhere, and Philip's got no front wing here, Dan. He's obviously hit someone, and now he's got no front wing to use at all. Yeah,
very, very dire situation for Philip Presneder, who'll have to come back into the pit lane and get that car service. It looks like any chance of points is going to be out the window for him in this race. As expected, all of the soft runners have made their way up the grid very, very quickly. Jan Otmir, though, yet to lose any places, and in fact, he's actually gone up in position. Oh no, he's actually still in P4, but Thomas Ronhard all the way down in P9. This is not good for him in this race.
It's certainly not, as we can see. Tamás Gál to the inside of Valentin Bruffaert into turn 1. Brilliant move from the Hungarian. Now we can see Ikebana looking to gain to get a move done ahead of the Williams, but Valentin will be fighting on the back of Tamás Gál still as they head into turn 5 to the outside. Goes the Williams. Can he find a move back round? No, he can't, but it will be the inside for Ikebana. Gets the move completed. Ruben Pedreño also up the inside of Valentin Bruffaert. They go side by side on the exit at turn 5. But I think that move is done and dusted indeed for the 3 soft runners. So now Tamás Gál looking to try and close in on Jan Otmir, who has lost to 1 second gap to Ismail Fassi. That could be quite crucial. We can see Valentino looking to tuck back in behind, taps the back, and the McLaren as they head into the braking zone. But this isn't good at all, is it, for Jan to be out of the 1 second gap to Ismail Fassi?
It's very much expected at this point in the race that Jano is going to lose a lot of time being on 2-step harder tyres than Ismail Fassi. But the main thing is that he tries his best to keep the likes of Tamás Gál, Ruben Pedreño and Valentin and Ikebana, all behind him, and keep that buffer in between himself and Thomas Ronhard. If that happens, he will be in a great stead heading into the final part of this race now. We're only on lap number 2, so maybe let's just think about here and the now. Luke Smith doing a great job at the front of the order, leading the way from Tom Manley, and to be on those mediums and still keeping up with Luke Smith and keeping Ismail Fassi in behind you, you gotta say that Tom Manley is in a great position as now, Nathan, DRS has been enabled.
Indeed, he could be one here looking for victory, but looking down further, we can see the 2 Ferraris down already up into P11 and P12. Brilliant job from Nico Murray to work together to charge up the grid. We can see Tamás Gál up the inside of Jan Otmir, backs off to get the DRS, and then we'll go for it down that straight in towards turn numbers. It's got the he's got a decent X, he's got the DRS to use, of course, down towards this next braking zone. DRS is open, passes the Mercedes before he even gets the DRS open. We can see Cabana looking to get in as well. He pulls to the inside of Jan Otmir. Can he pull to the inside of Tamás Gál? No, he backs off and he keeps Jan to his outside as they head into the braking zone. So moves being made for Ika and Tamás, and now Ruben Pedreño looking to gain in here on the back of Jan Otmir. He's got the DRS, of course, got a bit of battery to use. Pulls to the outside, pulls himself just ahead now of Jan Otmir and gets that move secure. And Jano didn't really look to fight that because he knows for a fact he is a little bit slower on those tyres at the moment. But all of that battle and all of that being held up by the hard runner has cost Tamás Gál, Ika and Ruben so much time on the back of the top 3. They've got a lot of work to do here, Dan, to get themselves within that 1 second. And Jano is in a perfect position because soon their times won't be as quick, so he can just pull along behind them.
Yeah, of course, this is a very high-deg circuit here in Abu Dhabi, and so that means the likes of Gál, Bainer and Pedreño, they're all going to struggle in the next few laps to actually keep that gap to all of these guys. As Fabrizio Donoso, what's happened to him? He's into the pit lane very early in this race. Maybe some wing damage on the Chilean's Aston Martin. Not a good return to WOR for him here tonight. But yeah, as I was saying, if Tamás, Ika, Ruben, they can't pull away from Jan Otmir and all the hard runners in behind, then they're going to have a very difficult time in the next few laps actually keeping their position. As crucially as well, Tamás has no DRS, and this could invite Ika Bainer for a move.
Indeed, you can see he pulling alongside, gets himself ahead of the Haas. We can see Ruben a little bit further back. He's not close enough to make a move ahead of Tamash, but he will be closing in, and we can see Ika and Tamash probably work together here now to, just pull each other along for deals, make moves if they're required to be made to try and catch up to those in the top 3. And still, Tom Manley doing a brilliant job on those medium tires, sticking comfortably ahead of Ishmael and comfortably behind the back of Luke Smith, and we can see him get closer for a little bit of a second, but he backs off into the race zone. Brilliant there from Tom Manley. Dan, he could be on a winning strategy here, couldn't he, tonight, if he pits at the right time and gets onto the right tyres. Also, we could see hards or softs for him, but depends how early or late he wants to go. But obviously, you can see further back, Jarno Uppmeer has been closed in a little bit more by Thomas Ronhart. Into P9 is Thomas, so we could see these two yet again come together as the laps unfocused. Thomas is looking to really just push Valentin Bruffair through some of these corners, a gap under a tenth, under 2/10 of a second at many points on this circuit.
Yeah, Thomas is really keeping Valentin humble at the minute, and I think the Williams driver is having to look more in his mirrors than in front of him at Jarno Uppmeer, and this could invite Thomas Ronhart into a move very, very soon. Nicholas Longate and Barry Burman also arriving onto the scene after starting way back in the order. They're doing a great job at the minute, closing now into the top 10. Well, they factor into this Grand Prix as Thomas Ronhart gets close to Valentin Bruffair. Not going to go for a move heading in towards turn number 5 for Richard Anoso, with a time penalty for multiple warnings and into the pit lane. Interesting strategy going on for him here today. Ismail Fassi looking close on Tom Manley. Here's Tamash Gao with the move, and Tom Manley's left the session. What's happened there?
It must be some sort of internet lag, because he's ghosted. He's dropped behind. Big shame here for Tom Manley. He's dropped out 6-7 tenths back from the leaders. Big shame. He's got to try and get himself back in as soon as possible, and if he can't yet, this is a big shame indeed for the AlphaTauri driver. We did see as well, obviously, Ronhart making the move ahead of Valentin Bruffair, now right behind the championship rival of Jarno Uppmeer. These two, one position behind each other. This could get scrappy as the laps get underway, and we can see hopefully Tom try and get back in soon, but he's still obviously got that lag and disconnect, because he's now dropped behind a second to those leaders. Big shame, but this is good for the likes of Tamash, Ika and Ruben to get themselves a bit of DRS now. Yeah,
Nathan, if you can drop Tom an invite, and he should hopefully get back into this race. But this is, as you say, a saving grace for all the soft runners like Tamash, Gao, Cabeno, Ruben Pedreño, because now Tamash has DRS on Tom Manley's AlphaTauri. It's so unfortunate that this is the situation that has unfolded for Tom Manley. Really unfortunate, because he was in a fantastic position to potentially take victory in this Grand Prix. But that's all come undone. He's still in a decent position. He's not actually lost any places at the minute. He's only lost a position to Ismail Fassi, who is now going on the attack of Luke Smith and will take the lead for the first time in this Grand Prix. Nice stuff from him there, as all of them shuffling further back down the order. Nicholas Longe is through on Valentin Bruffair, who lost a position as well to Thomas Ronhart. They're all shuffling about as this race continues along. Now Tom Manley, Nathan, losing all the positions.
Yeah, big shame indeed, and he can't get back in yet. I can't get him in, unfortunately, as I haven't got him as a friend, so hopefully he can get himself back in. His obviously the lobby is on friends only, so hopefully the internet hasn't gone too dire for him and he can get himself back. But we can see lots of Tamash Gano on the back of Ika Bainer, a 2.7 gap to the top 2 here in this race, and Jarno Uppmeer along with Thomas have been promoted up a couple of positions due to that lag for the AlphaTauri. So now we'll see what Thomas and Jarno could do, whether they want to make positions or whether they want to stick behind the back of these soft runners. But at the moment, obviously now with Tom Manley pretty much out the picture, Jarno and Thomas are probably on the winning strategies. Ismail Fassi could be, but obviously with that gap he's got now, that gap will go once he pits onto a harder set of tyres and will be a little bit more weak towards the end. So this could still be a brilliant battle, but I think Thomas and Jarno are probably on the upper hand here.
Yeah, absolutely. As this race continues along, Thomas Ronhart getting very close to the back of Jarno Uppmeer, but he's not looking to go for the move at this point. I think the softs are well and truly beginning to drop off, and now Jarno is on the attack. He's closing to the rear of Ruben Pedreño in towards turn at number 6. Luke Smith and Ismail Fassi swap once again. Here comes Tamash Gao through on Ika Bainer, and it looks like they're going to go 3 wide. Jarno Uppmeer, a little bit of contact with Tamash Gao as he slides over to the right-hand side. Ika Bainer almost caught completely off the circuit. Somehow, some way, they've come off with no contact, well, no damage whatsoever. However, now Jan Ortmir closing to the back of Tamas Gal, who almost ended his race right there and then. That was a very much a heart and mouth moment. Here comes Thomas Ronhaar looking up the inside, still 3 wide in towards the final sector. These are crucial tenths of a second. He will be losing sap behind his rivals if he can't get through, and Jan Ortmir is going to be stretching that advantage. But there it is, Thomas Ronhaar up ahead of Ikabena, but now there's a car in between himself and Jan Ortmir.
Indeed, and closer contact there between Jarno and multiple other drivers on the soft compound of tyres. So we'll see now what Thomas could do. He surely wants to get himself ahead of Ruben Progenio on this next straight. Wants to get himself into that top 5 so we can stick behind the back of Jarno Ortmir. We can see further back as well, Nico and Barry looking to still make more moves. Their start has been absolutely monumental, up into P8 and P9 after 8 laps, and they started right at the back of the grid. What we can see, Thomas getting in here to the back of Ruben. He doesn't send a move here into turn 5. He will send it probably down in towards turn 6. This is what we saw him do with Valentine Bruffair. Waited here, but then now got the battery underway and tried to charge after. Can he do it this time? But it seems he's not using much battery, so maybe he's not going to be looking to make the moves. As we can see, Ishmael and Luke swap for the lead. As we can see, Jan Ortmir looking to take third away from Tamas Gal, and he does so. Brilliant there from Thomas Ronhaar. Ikabena fighting with his teammate there. Not something we expect to see between the two Sabres, and Ika went a bit too deep. Thomas back ahead as they head back down towards turn 9.
Yeah, well, why is Ikabena disrupting his own teammate's plan? And you can see that was a thrust of the steering wheel. Anger from Thomas Ronhaar there. Not happy that his own teammate, Ikabena, putting the challenge to him, and that might have actually cost him going for the move on Ruben Pedreño. Tamas Gal gets back through on Jarno Ortmir, and so now it is still just one car in between himself and Thomas Ronhaar at the moment. So wow, high drama on lap number 8 as the night begins to fall here in Abu Dhabi. I absolutely adore this circuit. Valentine Bruffair, something's happened with him. I think there was a bit of wing damage potentially on the Williams as he touches the wall, as he's all over the back of Jed Norgrove. Not too sure what's gone on there, but Jake Benham finds himself in the top 10. Nathan, how about this train? All of them fighting out for position, and meanwhile the two leaders in Ishmael Fassi and Luke Smith, not a care in the world.
I'm still going to say I'm quite mesmerised by that move that Jed Norgrove made round the outside at turn 15 on Valentine Bruffair. Absolutely brilliant move by Jed Norgrove, and then obviously went for a bit of a slide into the final corner and nearly got overtaken yet again by Valentine Bruffair. But back near the top we can see Jan Ortmir looking to get himself back ahead of Tamas Gal. Luke Smith takes the lead. Ruben Progenio is now overtaken by Thomas Ronhaar, who's looking to close in on Tamas Gal. Couldn't find the move, but I think he thought, actually, you know what, we might catch up, and then thought, no, we're not going to do it. Backs out at the last possible second now. DRS activated for Thomas and Tamas Gal. Can any moves be made down towards turn 9? We can see Ishmael Fassi take the lead once again ahead of Luke Smith, and that gap though, Dan, is still going up to the top 2.
Yeah, all this battling that has been going on for that third place, it has allowed for the top 2 to keep their advantage and actually stretch it ahead of all of their rivals, and now with a gap of 3.6 seconds. And by the time they pit, they're going to be in a great position to potentially win this race. The soft strategy, Nathan, is always a short-term game, long-term loss, and it has worked out incredibly well for Ishmael and Luke, as it looked like someone dove into the pit lane. I'm not too sure who that was. Maybe that's my mind playing tricks on me. No, it's Ruben Pedreño into the box, and that is another car now that Thomas Ronhaar doesn't have to worry about in behind, as Ikabena's lost a little bit of time to his rival at the minute. I was going to say teammate. I think rival is a much better suited word. Here's Thomas Ronhaar, though, on the back of Tamas Gal, and I wonder, Nathan, could we see 3 wide potentially between these 3?
We could do, because I think, Tamas wants to defend Thomas, but Thomas wants to get ahead. He wants to break away from the soft runner, so we can see them now heading down towards turn 6. DRS being activated. Tamas Gal will gain in on Jan Ortmir. Does he make a move for P3? As we can see, Luke Smith take the lead once again. He's ready to know he backs off. He knows this time that Thomas isn't close enough to make an overtake on the back of the Haas, so he just sticks behind the back of Jan Ortmir and gets that DRS advantage down towards turn number 9. You can see this time, though, Thomas is very close. Does he use battery? No, he's not really keen at all on using any battery to get ahead of Tamas Gal here, so he's just comfortable sitting behind the back of the Haas, who's also sitting behind the back of the Mercedes as they head through in towards turn number 9. But still, Luke Smith and Ishmael Fassi are swapping every single straight. They just want to keep trying to extend that gap as much as they can.
And Jano's still losing time. He is actually slower than the 2 leaders at the minute, despite having the better tyres at this point. What is going wrong down at the Flying Dutchman's camp? He's losing time on those straights. Of course, he doesn't have any DRS to play with himself, and I think that is the difference maker between Ishmael and Luke. putting that gap to the Flying Dutchman, as now Tamas Gal into the pit lane. That means that Jan Ortmir and Thomas Ronhaar side by side on circuit here tonight. We'll see what happens between the pair of them. Are sparks gonna fly? We'll have to wait and see, as Tamas Gal will take off that set of the soft, presumably onto the hards.
Indeed, and obviously we know that Thomas needs to finish ahead of Jarno to keep himself in this championship fight. So there's a lot of pressure here on Thomas Ronhaar, but also a lot of pressure on Jarno Uppbeat. It's like watching Max and Lewis at some points, looking to fight, looking to make positions. But at this point in the race, the laps 11 and 29, it doesn't matter too much if overtakes are made here. At this point, we can see yet again the top two leaders swapping around. Thomas to the inside of Jarno Uppbeat makes a move for P3 in this race ahead of the Flying Dutchman. Ika Bainer sitting closer to behind with the two Ferraris following in suit. They'll be looking to try and get themselves involved in this battle surely as the race progresses on. But we'll see now what Thomas can do. Does he try and pull away, or does he try and stick here with Jarno in the DRS? We'll see what happens. But the DRS down here, you know, if you can try and pull away, you can get to about 7 tenths, but as soon as that DRS hits, you're back down to about 2 tenths once again. It's so hard, is it, to break away with the DRS train?
Absolutely, as now Thomas Ronhaar ahead of Jarno Uppbeat. If the race finishes like this, then they will head to the final round in Saudi Arabia, still as title rivals. To put the permutations as simple as possible, if Jarno Uppbeat beats Thomas Ronhaar here today, then he is your season 16 champion. Ismail Fassi in a very difficult position at this moment in time. Of course, he has to finish a minimum of 5th place in this Grand Prix to still be in the title hunt. Now Luke Smith into the pit lane. We'll see what he is able to do on the hard compound tyres. A great strategy going his way. Ismail Fassi will soon follow suit, because those softs are beginning to die off, and now without any DRS, Nathan, he is going to have a difficult time keeping that gap to Thomas Ronhaar.
Indeed he will. I can see Ismail Fassi probably pit in the next 3 or 4 laps to get himself off of those used soft tyres, but either way he's made some brilliant moves in this race. Was down in P6 now, up to the top, as we can see Nicolas Longue make a move ahead of Ika Bainer to pop himself into P4. We can see he could try and gain back. He goes to the outside to try and send the Ferrari defensive, but Nico doesn't bat an eyelid at that whatsoever and keeps that normal line as they head out of the chicane up towards turn number 9 once again, and still Thomas leading Jarno, but Jarno goes to the inside, gets a move done ahead of Thomas Ronhaar, so he'll be to P2 and Thomas back down to P3, and that is something we'll see all race long between these two, depending of course when they decide to pit onto a new set of tyres. I think down here they'll probably both try and play it safe and head themselves onto a set of mediums.
This isn't the fight between winning the race between the pair of them. This is just about who comes out on top. It is all about focusing on your title rival. It doesn't actually matter if Jarno or Thomas win this race, unless Ismail Fassi is in a race winning position, then yeah, it's a little bit of a concern. Ismail now into the pit lane. We'll see if he opts for a set of the hards. I'd imagine so, with Ika Bainer also into the pit lane. That will leave the Flying Dutchman leading this race ahead of Thomas Ronhaar. How about the two Ferraris as well? Nicolas Longue in 3rd, 4th place for Barry Burham, and Jake Benham in 5th. All these guys starting right at the back of the order. They're having a great time of it at the minute. Ismail Fassi and Ika Bainer, Nathan, onto a set of the mediums. That is a bold strategy. We'll see if that works out.
It is indeed. That is very bold, and that'll be what, 16-ish laps are going to take those tyres, so a long way they've got to take those in this race. But we can see Thomas Ronhaar up to the top for the first time in this race, and Jarno Uppbeat into 2nd place. Nicolas Longue though, and Barry, they could also make a bit of teamwork to try and get themselves ahead of the two Dutchmen ahead, which I think they'll try their best to do. I think they'll love to get themselves a win if they can. And we can see Luke Smith there making a move on Ruben Pedreño. So back to the net race lead is Luke Smith ahead of Ruben, ahead of Ismail Fassi, who's on the brand new mediums. He should be in a way better position than those two ahead, obviously being Ruben and Luke. So we'll see what Ismail Fassi can do with that. And then also we can see though the gap down from Ika to Tamas is nearly 5 seconds. So a lot of work needs to be put in from Ika Bainer to get himself back up towards that train, but I'm sure he can do so on those newer medium tyres. But then we can see them rounding out the next lap, heading on towards that 14. These hard runners probably not going to pit yet, but we're probably not too far away from it.
No, I'd imagine in the next maybe 5 laps, I think. What's happened? Oh, it's... huh? What?
Already, someone pitting already.
Oh, wow. Okay, Valentin Bruffair struggling with race pace at this point. He's lost a number of positions in this Grand Prix. Suspected to also have some front wing damage. It's a very early stop from him. 13 laps only on that set of the hards. It's not been a good day at the office for Valentin Bruffair as far as race pace goes. He'll come into the pit lane. We'll see where he emerges in regards to the rest of the train. At the front of the order, though, Jarno Uppbeat struggling to keep touch with Thomas Ronhaar and has Nicolas Longue Longe right behind him. What can Nico do? Maybe. Is Nico going to disrupt the party in favor of Jarno or Thomas Ronhaar? We'll have to wait and see, but I think, Nathan, those two Ferraris are going to have a big part to play in how this championship fight turns out.
Well, if they get involved, they'll be loved and hated by many, but aren't Ferrari already. So we'll see. We'll see what Nico and Ferrari end up doing in this race to try and get and interrupt Jarno and Thomas. And so yeah, we'll see what happens afterwards. If there's anything that happens, there'll be many words in the Discord, I'm sure, between them all after the race. But hopefully, the two Ferraris for now just stick behind and let the race play out. So maybe we'll see a bit more battling after the pit stops. But remember, this isn't the final race, so it's not like any moves made now could end the championship, because it most likely wouldn't, unless of course Jarno was to win this race, and no matter what, it would be done and dusted. But we can see them all heading down now in towards the final corner, and a pit stop being made by Jake Benham along with Jed Norgrove as well in P6. Dylan Warren and Ben Shabakon all into the pits there, so going a little bit earlier after those hards compared to the top four. And look at that top four, Dan. Thomas Ronhaar, Jan Rotme, Nicholas Longay and Barry Burman.
Star-studded. All of them are greats in the esports scene at the minute. There's heritage and history and youthfulness all about that top four, and it is amazing to see. Looking though at Ishmael Fassi, he is all over the rear of Luke Smith at the minute, and of course Luke Smith on those hards, Ishmael on the mediums. Should be an easy move for the Spaniard, who is still hoping to keep his championship hopes alive in this race, as Jan Otmir retakes the lead of this Grand Prix. Nicholas Longay also looking in behind. Let's have a little flick back at Ishmael as he makes that move stick, and will then head over to the leaders in this Grand Prix, because all of them separated by around about a second at this point. Thomas Ronhaar closing to the back of Jan Otmir in towards turn number 9. For the time being, he will stay behind, and Nicholas Longay also looking to get his hands dirty.
Indeed, he's sitting there waiting to pounce on the back of the Sauber and the Mercedes. So we'll see when it is his turn to make a move. You can see nearly pushing Thomas Ronhaar through in towards those braking zones, and Barry's sitting behind as well, just watching it all unfold ahead of him, and we'll see if he also gets himself involved. But that gap there between Ishmael Fassi and the leader is nearly 10 seconds, so that gap has come down quite considerably. We've got pit stops, Jarno Watmere and Nicholas Longay both into the pit lane here, so Thomas has the lead ahead of Barry Burman, and we'll see whereabouts they drop through, but they will be quite far back considering Ishmael Fassi, Dan, has only just come through the final corner.
Yeah, so that is the undercut being activated by both Jan Otmir and Nicholas Longay. Thomas Ronhaar choosing to go longer, and Barry Burman, of course, with no choice in that regard to the fact that he would be double stacking with Nicholas Longay. So we'll see how that works out coming towards the end of this race. As you said, Ishmael Fassi will be the net race leader in this Grand Prix. Where will Jan Otmir and Nicholas Longay emerge? It looks to be just about ahead, maybe behind of Jed Norgrove, side by side between Jan Otmir and Jed Norgrove in towards turn number 5. Jan Otmir with that inside line, he might concede that position. Never mind, it'll go right up the inside of Jed Norgrove off the exit of the corner. That was a hairy moment there, could have ended in tears for the Flying Dutchman, who is now all over the back and to the inside of Jed. He is looking to be mean, lean and fighting earlier on here in this medium stint up the inside of Valentin Brufair, and now has got his teammate Jake Benham just ahead of him. Nathan, could Jake play a part in this championship fight?
Well, I'm sure he did just then by making them all sit behind him. It seemed like he held them up, and now we can see Jarno pass Jake Benham. When there's Jarno, Jake is never far away, whether it's in front or behind. We can see battling going on as well. We can see Jed and Valentin fighting for position, and Jed goes all the way after the circuit there as they're heading towards turn 12, and he gets a position back ahead. We'll see if that gets talked to the stewards afterwards. A bit more contact into the braking zone as we see Thomas Ronhaar into the pit lane, so we'll see where he comes out in this battle. But Jake Benham, he could easily hold Thomas up here. This could be quite a finale in this race. It's not the finale of the championship, but it's certainly going to be a brilliant end into this race. We can see people further back. Dylan Warren into the pit lane.
Again, I think that might have been maybe a little bit of wing damage on that Red Bull car. Dylan Warren really is not having a good season ever since that early burst of points. It feels like forever since he's finished in at the top 10. Thomas Ronhaar will emerge on the circuit in P14, just behind Duncan Hoffland, meaning there are 7 cars in between the championship rivals at the minute. Nicholas Longay is up the inside now of Jed Norgrove, and he'll make his way into P10. But this is going to be absolutely huge for the title at this point in this Grand Prix, because now Jan Otmir has a very nice buffer, and I think critically his teammate Jake Benham is going to do all he can to hold Thomas Ronhaar up and take the fight to the Dutchman, and it is going to be an absolutely monumental end to this race, Nathan.
Indeed, and we can see as well further ahead, Nicholas Longe looking to make a move ahead at Van Tienbroek. To the inside goes the Ferrari on the Williams. So they head through towards turn 9, they'll disappear for a moment and come back out to turn 10. It will be Nico now into the top 9. We'll see. Does he try and fight Jake Benham? And then we can see a little bit further back, Thomas Ronhart behind the back of bench. Bakonyi, Jed Norgrove, Van Tienbroek, and Nico and Jake is what separates him and Jarno Opmeer. We've got Barry Burman, last of the pitters, into the pit now. He will go all the way down, probably near the back of the grid, probably just ahead, just behind, of Shanika Clay. So he'll have a lot of work to do as well on those newer medium tyres, and it's still Ishmael Fassi that leads ahead of Luke, ahead of Ruben and Tamas Gal in the top 4. Then there's actually quite a large gap if you think about it back. It's 6 seconds between Ishmael Fassi and Jarno Opmeer, and their tyres are only separated by 3 laps. Ooh, this could be an interesting one, Dan, for Ishmael Fassi. He could still be the one with the upper hand here.
Yeah, Ishmael Fassi could still be in the title hunt heading into the final race of the season. If Jarno finishes on the podium today, then he will still, I think he's guaranteed to win the championship ahead of Ishmael Fassi. Of course, not relating to what Thomas Ronhart can do. Meanwhile, Thomas is actually getting through on Jed Norgrove, thinning out the herd. He's getting now through up ahead of the AlphaTauri. He's got Valentin, Nico, then Jake on his hit list until he is on the back of Jarno Opmeer once again with slightly fresher medium tyres. Nicholas Longe all over the rear of Jake Benham and looking up the inside and towards turn number 9. Very close to contact between the pair of them. Nico finds the room. Jake Benham leaves him the space. That was a very nice overtake to get himself into P7 and splitting those 2 Mercedes.
Well, we know that Nicholas Longe isn't here to mess around at all tonight in Abu Dhabi, and we can see now Jarno ahead of Nico, ahead of Jake, ahead of Thomas. Is that main little battle there for P6 down to P9 at this current time? And already Thomas has brought that gap down between him and Jake by 0.4 of a second within about 4 or 5 corners. So it shows at the moment that Thomas has probably got a little bit more pace to give than Jake, as he also takes the fastest lap with a 1:23.534. So Thomas Ronhart is pushing like hell now to make some moves in this race on that gap. And he's actually going to look to get ahead of Jake before they head down towards turn 5. These two, I believe, came to contact a couple of seasons back, didn't they, Danny? Here in this 13.
Corner. Absolutely. And now in towards turn number 5. Is it going to be the same scenes we saw last season? Not last season. Last time Thomas Ronhart was a title contender at this circuit. Doesn't look like it. Easy move for Thomas Ronhart. But now Jake Benham has the slipstream. He's got the DRS and will be going back on the attack once again of Thomas Ronhart being a real thorn in the side of the Dutchman in towards the braking zone. Jake Benham looks up the inside of Thomas Ronhart. Jarno Opmeer's been overtaken now by Nicholas Longe, and Jake Benham still looking to go onto the attack. But I think those 2 lap fresher medium tyres really playing into the hands of Thomas Ronhart, and there's no more that Jake can do. Looking around the outside, potentially towards turn number 9, a switchback could be on the cards. Doesn't seem like it. Thomas Ronhart's through.
And now it's Thomas versus Jarno once again, and it's a 1 lap tyre difference. Thomas Ronhart on the 2 lap hold tyres. As Tamas Gal gets a 3-second time penalty. As I was saying though, Thomas Ronhart on the 2 lap hold mediums and Jarno Opmeer on 3 lap hold tyres. So we'll see if that 1 lap tyre difference makes much of a change between these two in this race. And we can see that gap slowly coming down between Ronhart and Opmeer, and we'll see if they come to contact any time in this race or if they make overtakes sometime soon. And we'll see them also catch up to the back of the front train. We can see Nicholas Longe's got a 1.5 second gap to Ika Baina. And then, obviously, ahead of that, it's another 3 seconds to Tamas and another 2 seconds to Ishmael Fassi. So still quite large gaps separating the field. But Ronhart here, Dan, is right on the back, and he goes for a move into turn 5.
Whoa, down the inside for Thomas Ronhart on Jarno Opmeer. Who has got the better exit? Jarno Opmeer has the slipstream on Nicholas Longe, and Thomas Ronhart, has he fired the gun too early before the draw was called? We'll have to wait and see. And now in towards the braking zone of turn number 6, they go. Thomas Ronhart might have jumped the gun there, and Jarno Opmeer is still ahead at the minute, but you just see the pace that Thomas Ronhart has. That 1 lap overcut is making an absolute world of difference between the pair of them. Jarno Opmeer pulling off to the right hand side, maybe inviting Thomas Ronhart up the inside. Doesn't look like it, and so Jarno Opmeer will remain ahead of Thomas for the time being. All that matters for Jarno Opmeer is that he stays ahead of Thomas Ronhart in this race. It doesn't matter if they're 19th and 20th, as long as he is ahead of Thomas Ronhart. That is all that's going to matter in terms of his championship hopes. But they also are beginning to close to the rear of Ika Baina. Nicholas Longe is on the back of the Sauber. Maybe is it Ika's turn, Nathan, to play the team game? We saw it earlier on. He didn't, to be very candid there. But maybe it's time for him to repay the favour of Thomas Ronhart.
Indeed, maybe there's been a bit of a word between the two teammates for Ika to try and help Thomas Ronhart out here. So we'll see what happens as they head back down into turn 5. Nico is on the back of Ika very closely as they head into the braking zone. He will of course, get some DRS to use as they head down that straight in towards turn 6. Patrick Seapath gets a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings on the track limits. But look at this gap now. Nicholas Longe to the inside of Ikebana, gets the move done for P5, and no one else is looking for moves. Actually, Yano Watme will look for a move into towards turn 6, but couldn't quite get it done. Went for a send, but was a little bit too far back, as we saw yet again at the top. Luke Smith and Ishmael Fassi still changing the lead.
And here comes Yana Watmere once again now in towards turn number 9. Will get through on Ikebana, and this is crucial that he once again puts a car in between himself and his championship rival, and that is exactly what he has done. Now Thomas Ronhart, he's got to be very quick in making this move stick, because of course Ikebana is on the slower tyres, and look at that, he's covering off that inside line, not interested at all in playing the team game. Thomas Ronhart once again going to be stuck behind Ika, heading now in towards sector 3. Oh my word, Ikebana, to be very blunt here, he's slow through turn number 13. Thomas Ronhart will not be a very happy man at the minute in that cockpit.
Well, Dan, a bit of more information I've been told in the chat is that Ika's not in RHG anymore, he's in Williams. So they're technically not teammates at all, as we can see Valentino retire in the pit lane. But yet these two aren't teammates, hence why we see harsh battling between the two as they head down to turn 5. And Ronald's keen to get ahead. He wants to get ahead of Ika, because look at this time, he's losing. He's got a 5/6 gap to Yono Otmir now as they head into turn 5. He goes deep, gets that inside line, and I don't think there's much that Ika can do about that. No, there's not now. So Ronald back onto Yono Otmir, hasn't got much more to worry about as I head into turn 6, unless Ika can try and make a large send, which he's going to try and gain. He's going to gain.
Oh my
onto
word.
the back of Thomas. Does he make a send into turn 6? No, he backs off.
Oh, Ikebana, if he went for that move, I think he might have been the most popular man in the live chat, but it wasn't meant to be. Ikebana really, though, being a thorn in the side of Thomas Ronhart, no longer contractual teammates. Here's Nicholas Longe around the outside of Tamash Gao, and there it is, another move being made. Tamash Gao going to be losing a lot of time to all of these medium runners, and Thomas Ronhart once again has to find the move on a slower car. Luckily this time Tamash Gao going to play that very nicely and allow for Thomas Ronhart to slip up the inside. And now the gap between the top 3 and the rest of this train is only 3.6 seconds heading into the final laps of this Grand Prix. I mean, what a race we're going to be treated to, Nathan.
This is going to be a fantastic ending. We've got 6 drivers who all could be fighting for victory in this race, and we got obviously Nico, Yono and Thomas looking to close down that gap to the front, and Ishmael Fassi, who wants that win. He wants to keep himself in the title fight, which at the moment a win would do so at this point, so he's got to keep it. He's got to keep it calm and hope he can deliver victory. But Thomas is gaining in on Yono. Does he make a send into turn number 5? No, he doesn't. We do see further back though, Ikebana making a move on Tamash Gout to get himself up into P7. And now look at this gap now. Thomas is gaining in on Yono, but Yono's also gaining in on Nicholas Longe. Do any moves be made in towards turn 6? I don't think they will on this occasion. No, they all just sit back for now, and obviously Thomas and Yono want that DRS down towards turn 9.
Absolutely, it seems like they're calming down and readying their arsenal for the final laps of this Grand Prix. Thomas Ronhart, though, very quick on the exit on the back of Yana Watmir, looking to the outside line. That is just him letting that engine breathe. He is not interested at all in going for the move. Their main priority now, Nathan, is to close the gap as best they can to the top 3, because that is where the big points are being scored here this evening. But Thomas Ronhart practically in this final sector is pushing Yana Watmir around the circuit. In the top 6 train, who could be fighting for the win on lap number 29, Thomas Ronhart, in theory, has the best chance of actually taking the win in this race, just due to the fact he's going to have the freshest tyres. And once you hit those final few laps, that 1 lap of a difference that Thomas Ronhart decided to stay out is going to make an absolute worlds of a difference here, Nathan. And so Thomas Ronhart, do not count him out yet. We're on lap number 24 or 29, 6 laps to go here in Abu Dhabi, and still the picture not yet to be clear.
Indeed, I'm noticing here Yono Otmir is actually losing time to the back of Nicholas Longe. 5/10 separates the two as they head into turn 5, and Thomas Ronhart was within a 10th of the Flying Dutchman. Taps the back of the Mercedes a little bit on the entry of turn 5. They head down to turn 6 this time around, and battery-wise, pretty much equal between Thomas and Yono. As we can see, the two leaders once again swap around. Luke Smith and Ishmael Fassi, like they've done all race long, and Yono Otmir sits behind the back of Nicholas Longe once again. Doesn't look to make a move ahead of the Frenchman as they head out turn 7 down towards turn 9 again. And it looks like no one's really keen to make moves. They just want to try and pull along then and get themselves to that front, because really, they're not gaining. They've gained, what, 2/10 on this lap?
I really don't think they're
they'll
catching.
do it.
No, I think Otis Lawrence has chimed in the live chat as well. He doesn't believe they're gonna catch. So I think maybe this is the fight for the title. It's not the fight for the win. I actually don't think Jarno Opmeer can secure it today, because Ismail Fassi could win this race and jump ahead of Thomas Ronhaar, and then he will be in contention into the final round of the season at Saudi Arabia. It really isn't looking good for the Flying Dutchman if he wants to win the title here tonight, but he's still in a fine position at this point in the race. Lap number 25, now 5 laps to go here in Abu Dhabi. Thomas Ronhaar still following in behind the Dutchman of Jarno Opmeer for P5. Nicolas Longe doing a nice job of holding that position. Here's Thomas Ronhaar looking now up the inside, now looking around the outside of turn number 5. Jarno Opmeer, they're side by side in towards that corner, wheel to wheel off the exit. Who is going to get the better run? Thomas Ronhaar will have the slipstream of Nicolas Longe. The pair of them open up the DRS in tandem with one another. Jarno Opmeer a nose ahead. Here comes Nicolas Longe as well in the fight, 3 wide between 3 WOR champions, and Jarno Opmeer will make that move and make his way into P4. Nicolas Longe losing out the biggest in all of that scenario, but they're still going to continue along in towards turn number 9. Thomas Ronhaar looking to the inside of Jarno Opmeer. Nothing the Flying Dutchman can do. No DRS for him there. Nicolas Longe soars around the outside of Jarno just to make matters worse for him, and all of a sudden Thomas Ronhaar in P4, Jarno Opmeer down to P6, Nicolas Longe splitting the pair of them.
Well, Nico's got himself into a bit of trouble here, as he's in the middle of 2 people fighting for a championship. So this could get quite scrappy, and Nico might not be liked by many at the end of this race, and still, they're not really gaining. They've gained another half a second, but it's not been that much at all. That, what, 3 laps left to go. They need to gain at least a second a lap to be then in DRS, to then make moves. So I don't think this is enough. I think Ismail, Luke and Ruben have made the perfect strategy here on those soft tyres, so this could be brilliant for those 3 in this race, but they head back down again towards turn 5. Thomas ahead of Nico, ahead of Jarno Opmeer, and Jarno's got obviously a 2.5 gap to the back of Nico. Doesn't make a move on this time around, but we'll see what moves get made down in towards this next corner. Shanika Clay gets added to the penalty board with a 3-second time penalty. He's down in P14, unfortunately, so it doesn't matter for him anyway, but they head back down towards turn 6, and I don't think this time anyone's really going to look to make a move.
Yeah, absolutely. As now Jake Benham is through on Ikabena, and Nicolas Longe happy to sit in the wheel tracks of Thomas Ronhaar. They're all going to recuperate and then come back on the final laps of this Grand Prix. But yeah, once again, Thomas Ronhaar not catching to the back of the leaders. And so as a little bit of lag hits my way, hopefully the stream is still all okay. Thomas Ronhaar losing that place now to Nicolas Longe. Jarno Opmeer still in the fight. What is going to happen between the pair of these guys in the final few laps? If Jarno Opmeer beats Thomas Ronhaar, Thomas Ronhaar's out of championship contention. Ismail Fassi, he can still head into the final round a title contender, but Jarno Opmeer, as long as he finishes ahead of Thomas Ronhaar, Ronhaar's season is done.
Well, more news to come through is that if Ismail Fassi was to finish 2nd or lower, and Jarno was P5, it's done anyway. So Jarno doesn't have to win it to win the championship. So this still is quite far from over. So Ismail Fassi has got pretty much 2 race cushions behind me. And obviously Ruben drives for the Alpine team. So Luke and Ruben are going to be attacking the back of the Williamses. And, well, Jarno needs to get himself into that top 5. So this, Dan, well, it could still be over, surprisingly, after all the antics that have happened. It's brilliant, isn't it? There's 6 drivers here in this fight, and they're all going to play a part in who wins this championship.
If Jarno Opmeer is 5th, Ronhaar is 4th, Jarno wins this title. And if they're not catching, this is the best Thomas Ronhaar can do. All Jarno Opmeer needs to do is get ahead of Nicolas Longe by the end of this race. Ismail Fassi in the train, he has got the worst tyres arguably. He's got the freshest, but those mediums, 14 laps old at this point, they are definitely going to be feeling the wear. Luke Smith, he'll go on the attack very soon, as will Ruben Pedreño. This race is still not over. Anything can happen at this point. I am frothing at the mouth, waiting to see how this race unfolds. Ismail Fassi leading the way, as he has done for a very long time. Those mediums definitely feeling the wear, Nathan.
Definitely, but you can see as well behind, obviously it's hard tyres for Luke and Ruben, so we'll see if that also hampers their chances at all of getting that win. But we can see obviously that gap, 1.7 seconds. They might just make it DRS on the last lap of this race if they can push in this middle sector, but it will be very, very close as they head in towards turn 1 once again. Obviously, Ishmael leading Luke, leading Ruben, then Thomas, Nico and Jarno sitting in that next pack with Barry Burmans in the top 7, of course. Got himself ahead of Jake Benham, has already broken that 1 second, which is crucial. We'll see if Barry Burman can have any part to play in this race, which would add another interesting dynamic to what could happen at the end. And well done.
Oh
the
my
7
God.
people involved to make this championship happen. Will it be Jarno who takes it, or will it be going into the next round between Ishmael, Thomas and Jarno? And actually, Luke Smith's made a move ahead of Ishmael, sorry, and that could be key because actually Ishmael might won that DRS on the last lap.
Oh, what my word. This is absolutely insane. You cannot call it from any perspective here as Thomas Ronhard is losing time to the leaders. Here comes Nicholas Longe closing to the back of the Sauber. There's Jarno Ottmere through on the pair of them. Wow. Jarno Ottmere up the inside and finds his way into P4. Nicholas Longe around the outside, now on the inside of the corner. Thomas Ronhard still fighting his way into this battle. Jarno Ottmere into P5, but still they're wheel to wheel. Ronhard around the outside of his championship rival. Jarno Ottmere still wheel to wheel between the pair of them. They bang wheels heading in towards turn number 14 and 15, still side by side. Oh my word, how have they not come to blows? Jarno Ottmere is going to lose that position for the time being. They're still wheel to wheel on lap number 21. 9, Nathan.
What a battle, absolutely superb between Jarno and Thomas, and now Barry Burmand is here in this battle, but it's the final lap of the race, so anything that happens now is probably going to be final. They head down into turn 5, they're all looking to go left, right to make moves into the brake zone, and Thomas goes for a lunge, couldn't get it to be done as Jarno went deep himself to save the move. They head yet again down towards turn 6, looking at the leaders. It's going to be Ishmael looking to get himself ahead of Luke Smith. He gets the move done around the outside, but Luke's got the DRS heading down to turn 9. We look further back, can Jarno make a move ahead of Nico? No, we can't say he's back. Thomas also stuck behind, and Dan, all these drivers fighting for now. This is key.
This could be the end of the championship fight. Luke Smith is on the attack of Ismail Fassi. This will end his hopes of winning the title here in Abu Dhabi. Luke Smith around the outside of Ismail Fassi, and Ismail holds on to that position there. What about Jarno Ottmere? He's still ahead. He's still ahead of Thomas Ronhard, now heading into the final few corners. What will happen? Ismail Fassi might lose his position. Here comes Luke Smith around the outside and in towards the final few corners. Luke Smith, has he made this move stick? Still side by side down the inside and towards turn number 16. Ismail Fassi off the circuit as they come across the line. Luke Smith wins, and Jarno Ottmere in P5. He claims the season 16 WOR PC Tier 1 Championship. He's written his name in the history books once again. He's carved his name into that statue outside the WOR arena. The chat is going crazy. How has this race ended out this way? He is a 3-time champion. He is the first ever back-to-back WOR champion, carving his name into the stone as the greatest to ever do it. Luke Smith winning this race ahead of Ismail Fassi, but that doesn't matter at this point because Jarno Ottmere is your champion. I'm shaking.
What a finale. There's no words whatsoever. That last lap. Also, we had on the penultimate lap, Jarno and Thomas side by side. The final lap, Luke and Ismail Fassi.
Oh.
And normally you see moves into turn and that's it. But no, they kept going to the final corner. And at the end, Ismail Fassi loses his chance to take championship by 0.021 of a second. That is the 10th of time it takes to blink. That is how short that is between Ismail Fassi and Luke Smith at the end, and Jarno Ottmere takes the championship. Absolutely brilliant, and well, that has got to go down as possibly my favourite race ever. Genuinely, it was pure Abu Dhabi, and well, it wasn't the final race, but it might as well have been because Jarno Ottmere claims the championship in 5th position.
Jarno Ottmere does it again for the 3rd time here in WOR. He continues to set these unattainable records once again. a champion back-to-back for the very first time out of anyone in the history of WOR. The first ever 3-time champion here in PC Tier 1. Absolutely stunning scenes, and I'm once again confident in saying the greatest to ever do it here in League Racing and in the world of esports. Absolutely insane. Luke Smith, though, winning this race ahead of Ishmael Fassi. Ruben Petronio in P3, P4 for Nicholas Longue, P5 for Jan Ortmir, P6 for Ronhar, 7th is Barry Burman, 8th Jake Benham, 9th Ben Chabakonyi, and Ika Boehner rounding out that top 10. Duncan Hoffland 11th, 12th is Shanika Clay, 13th Philip Presnett. You can see the rest of the grid on your... I'll bring us back into the commentary box. First thing is also we've seen this now. This is all provisional. I actually remember the Season 13 championship, you mentioned it, Nathan, in the live stream, was decided by that contact between Thomas Ronhar and Jake Benham, and Jan Ortmir won that title in the in the stewards room. We don't know if this is all confirmed yet. We'll see what happens, but I don't know. I don't see anything.
Well, I saw in the chat Luke Humphries asked if Ishmael will be reporting Luke Smith. So if that's the case, maybe it might not be over. We'll see, though. I don't know if much will come out of it, because we did see them have a bit of a scuffle at the final corner, and Ishmael went off the circuit and came home and claimed P2. So we'll see if anything happens with that. But this ended in pure Abu Dhabi style. You can't come to Abu Dhabi for a championship without a chaotic ending. If it's not a chaotic ending, there's no point turning up. Don't watch it. But this race was honestly one of those which I'd say to everyone, go back and watch it, because it was brilliant all the way through. Even if there wasn't actual battle on track, there was that mental thing of Thomas, Jarno and Ishmael all being where they are on the circuit, looking to try and make moves here and there, looking to try and outskill their opponents. And in the end, it came down to an absolute brawl between Luke Smith and Ishmael Fassi.
Wow. On the line, Ishmael Fassi going off the circuit, and the gap was 2/100ths of a second. Have you ever seen that? Absolutely incredible. Thank you to Redman147 as well for the $5 donation. Get in there, Yarno. Great race to everyone. Tractor for the championship. Who's Tractor? I don't know, but maybe you'll win the title next season. Your donation is very much appreciated here in WOR. And what a race for us to have such a spectacular potential championship decider here tonight on the very race that we reach 20,000 subscribers. Thank you everyone so much once again for your contributions to this YouTube channel. We would not be here right now commentating for all of you without you. I mean, you know, you're all just incredible. Oh, Tractor is Yarno. Apologies there. He did win the championship then, but thank you everyone so much from the bottom of my heart. All your comments, all your views, all your likes, all your subscriptions mean so much to us. And I'm just a commentator here. I'm not a part of the rankings or anything in WOR. But what this league means to me and Nathan, it is just absolutely everything. And so thank you everyone so much for your support. We do have Luke Smith and Ishmael Fassi in the interview room, so I'll bring us over now and then we can talk to Ishmael. First and foremost, we'll talk to Ishmael as he finished second here tonight. Ishmael, first and foremost, how are you feeling?
Hello, good night. Yeah, I guess I've just had a good race, starting P6.
Okay, and yeah, heading into that final lap, of course, you were fighting out with Luke Smith right into the line. There was just 2/100ths between the pair of you. What happened from your point of view in the cockpit? What happened?
Last two laps I felt like the medium was dying already compared to the hard. So yeah, on the last lap I was a bit under pressure, you know, to not make any mistakes. And I wanted to pass Luke because I knew that in traction he was gonna gain a lot of time to me. So I said, yeah, I'll give my best here. And in the end, it looked like the win was there. But yeah, in the last sector, we had a good battle, you know, without pushing anyone off the track. And then the last corner came, which I mean, I get it. It's the last corner of the last lap, but yeah, it would have been better if I would have won the race.
Yeah, and of course, with this, unfortunately, you're eliminated from championship contention, and Jarno is the season 16 champion. How does it feel just to be in this position where you've now fought for the championship? Because in the last few seasons, you have been getting so much better every single time, and now to fight for the championship, that's got to mean a lot to you.
Yeah, I mean, like I've said so many times, when I got the right equipment back in December after event 1, I kind of felt like I was improving a lot in terms of everything, race pace, maybe, quali pace as well, but not consistency in quali. I'm always bottling the last lap, which it's not ideal. But yeah, since then, I've been feeling very, very, very fast, and I'm quite happy with my results recently. Fighting with the top guys, it's good.
Yeah, wow. I mean, it's great to see, your season and how it's unfolded. You've done absolutely splendid throughout all of it, and we'll let you get away and enjoy that P2. But from myself and Nathan, you just did absolutely amazing this season. So really, really well played from you. Nathan, anything you want to say to Ishmael here?
Well, no questions, but yet again, congratulations. Obviously, get yourself up in towards having that championship battle till the final couple of rounds. So hopefully next season we can see you fighting for it once again, and maybe you can come out on top.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
All right, and so that brings us to, I believe we could talk to Ruben Pedreño next. Nathan, do you want to take away this interview with Ruben?
Indeed, Ruben, are you here, mate? Can you hear us?
Hello, yeah, good night.
Hello. So P3 in the race, brilliant, of course, and obviously qualifying didn't go. Where did you finish? Start again. I shouldn't ask that, but I completely forgot.
P12.
So P12 to P3, brilliant, isn't it? Obviously, started outside the top 10 qualifying, didn't quite go to plan, but the race obviously that strategy took something a bit different, and in the end, it worked out brilliantly, didn't it? Do you think that maybe obviously with all those fighting down P4 below, do you think if they didn't fight, they would have caught back up?
Well, obviously, when I saw that all the medium runners were catching that fast, I was like, yeah, please fight, because if not, I had like from lap 9 hearts, and my tires were done almost. So I just took cruise mode, follow Luke and Isma, led them to gap and push as much as they could, and just pray and get that P3, and it happened with all that fighting. So pretty happy after that poor qualifying.
Indeed, obviously, as well, obviously taking those hards, obviously, I think it was about 19, 20 laps. Do you think that you could have gone much longer on those tyres, or were they near to puncture range?
Yeah, I think I could have gone like 2 more laps with them, but I could have been sent by Jarno, Longe, and everyone behind. So I'm very lucky that the race was only 29 laps.
Indeed, and obviously, going into this race, you haven't had many podiums at all this season. So to be able to sit in P3, it's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like this season, I haven't participated that much because I was having a little break from F1. But coming back these past 2-3 races and getting now the podium feels really good. And looking forward for the next races.
Indeed, yes. So congratulations on P3. That's all from me. Anything from you, Dan?
No questions from me, Ruben, but really well done today. Thank you so much for joining us in the interview room as well. We'll let you get away and enjoy that P3.
Thank you. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
And so we can talk to Luke Smith now, the winner of this Grand Prix. Luke, heading into this race, you started on the set of the soft compound tyres. What guided that decision from you?
Well, we knew that getting away at the start would be quite useful, especially with potentially the championship being decided. So the train that would overcut could also end in quite a bad crash, basically, given the fact people might be a bit more aggressive, or people might make a move that they normally wouldn't in any other race. So we decided to try and get away from the kind of the carnage. And it proved to work out as well, because Ismail followed us. And from then on, we were able to effectively work with each other to try and win the race, basically. That way, Me and him got into P1 and P2. Ruben came out with DRS behind us, but we knew his tires were a little bit too old to actually attack us. So yeah, from then it was a 1v1. But yeah, the softs at the start was definitely to kind of stay away from everything that was going to go on behind. So yeah, I think it was the right call in the end.
Absolutely, yeah, really well done from you. And of course, on at that last lap, fighting it out with Ismail Fassi, I think you've basically single-handedly decided that championship. When you were racing with Ishmael, was that running through your mind at all, or is it just 100% focus on yourself?
Oh no, I was focused entirely on myself. Like I would do that with any other driver. Like realistically, the end goal for every driver is to win as many races as possible. And I knew that realistically he would be obviously wanting to win that race. I didn't actually know that it would decide the championship for him today. But yeah, realistically, at the end of the day, you've just got to focus on yourself, get the best result that you possibly can, and yeah, at the end of the day, it managed to work out as well with a really great battle with Isma as well. So lots of fun, and yeah. Sorry to take away the championship from him, but yeah, again, I've got to look out for myself. So yeah, much better race than last week, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, you're not racing for Ishmael, you're racing for yourself, and it worked out for you. So really well done, a sensational race from yourself, and hopefully we can see you very, very soon back in the interview room. Nathan, anything you want to say to Luke?
No questions, but yet again, Luke, congratulations on the victory. And a little bit different to what happened in Qatar, so I think it's a bit of resurgence for yourself to be on the top step, and hopefully next season, or maybe next week, we can see you back up there again.
Oh yeah, hopefully that's the plan. But yeah, thank you guys.
Well, thank you to Luke Smith for joining us in the interview room. Normally, we just have 3 interviews, but we've got the very special man here today, Jarno Opmeer, the Season 16 champion. First and foremost, Jarno, how does that feel?
Yeah, feels good. I wasn't sure at the time if I had won yet. Of course, I saw Luke popping up with the win, but Ismail did finish second, so I wasn't sure if I had it actually, because I only finished P5. But yeah, I knew, of course, I had Thomas 1 position behind me, so I knew I had him. But yeah, 28 points ahead of Ismail as well, so felt great. Feels great, to be honest. Didn't expect to, yeah, kind of win both WOR titles on F1 23. I think not something I've done before or has been done before, because yeah, the field is just so competitive every single season. So yeah, feels great. I had a great battle with Thomas as well. That went on for I think 8 laps. Went side by side for the entirety of the last sector, barely without any contact. I think we had one little contact moment on the last corner, but yeah, it was nothing special. It was great racing. Same with Nicolas, of course. That was kind of with us the whole stint, and yeah, was just a fun race, to be honest. I think Nicolas drove a great race. So I think he started almost last. Somehow ended up in P4, and probably would have been further up front if I would have helped him a little bit more. But yeah, that was not my aim this race to win. My aim was to win the championship, of course. So yeah, priorities were a little bit different.
And now with this title, you've made history once again. You're the first ever 3-time champion, and of course, you're the first ever man to do it back to back. Do these records here in WOR really mean anything to you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, WR is probably going to be around for a while in league racing on F1 games. So yeah, can't wait to continue on F1 24. I'm not sure if there's going to be another season on F1 23, but if there is, I'm not sure if I will participate. But yeah, it's been 2 great seasons. I can't wait for F1 24 to be back with WR. So.
Yeah, and now Wow. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. I think you've basically answered everything that I wanted to ask. So I know that I give you a lot of rubbish when I come into your live chat and telling you to oil up those pedals and whatnot. I I always give you rubbish for it, but Jarno, I'm really truly I feel honoured to be to commentating over such a dominant performance from yourself in both WOR and PSGL. It is incredible to see you once. I'm looking at your Twitch chat as well at the minute, and it's just incredible to see the things that you can do. So really well done. No matter what happens in the future, you'll always be one of the esports greats. Nathan, anything you want to say to our championship winner today?
Well, first of all, congratulations, John, on becoming a three-time champion. Very well deserved, of course. But obviously, will you be here with us next week for Saudi Arabia?
I'm not sure. I'll think about it. But
Give someone else a chance to win.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like today as well, I had very little time to practice. I don't like jumping into league races with very little practice. Because usually like today as well, I was just off the pace. The kart race over the past 3 days, and didn't have any time to practice any Abu Dhabi. Not to mention I don't like Abu Dhabi as well with all the potholes. So I'm not sure. I'll see if I'm there next week. If I'm up to good pace, I will be there.
Yes,
so.
Indeed. And just one last question. Obviously, going through into F124 in probably a few months' time, is there anything you're kind of hoping forward for the cars in that game?
No, I hope to make another step forward in terms of realism. Sorry, I think no one really liked F122, even though they did bring some new features to the game. Just the handling kind of ruined it, I think, for everyone. So F123 was a good step forward relative to F122 in terms of driving, in terms of realism. So I hope they can make another big step again. There's still some flaws in the handling. But nonetheless, I've really enjoyed racing on this game for the past over 1,000 hours. So I'll definitely be adding a little bit more in the coming few months. But it's been good fun. So.
Of course. And well, that's all from me. So yet again, congratulations on your championship, and also from Dan and Dull. We might see you next season, we might not. We'll see what happens. So have a good one, Jarno, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jarno, for joining us once again to claim his championship. Although it's not all said and done, I did say, Nathan, that it could be decided in the stewards' room. Thomas Ronhart has submitted a report on Jarno Opmeer. I think he's doing all he can to try and claim that championship. And you know what? He is well within his rights to do so. It's not going to be the most popular thing to do, but this is the championship on the line. Jarno Opmeer, Thomas Ronhart, well and truly, if he thinks Jarno's done something wrong, he is allowed to do that. And so we'll see what happens.
And well, then you say that, obviously it might not be, some people say it's not the right thing to do, whatever, but I think at the end of the day, I would do the exact same thing. If you're doing the champion, you're going to try everything you can. I looked at the report myself, and I don't really see what went wrong, but I'm not a steward. But as I say, I think he's going to get as many reports as he can if he can try and get a penalty, just to give himself a bit of a chance, obviously going through into the next round. But then again, Dan, Thomas Ronhart, he didn't attend the first 3 races? He didn't attend, wasn't it?
Yeah, Thomas Ronhart. Arguably, if he was here the whole season and he had that same form that we saw, I think this could have been a much different story. But it's not the story that's in front of us, and everyone in the live chat is giving him rubbish at the minute for reporting it. I think I can actually draw a parallel to myself here. In my A levels, I got like 4 marks off an A, and there was no chance of me getting that if I regraded it. I decided to send it in anyways because something might happen. Thomas Ronhart is in that exact same position. Anything that he can do, he will do to win that championship because it's what he wants. It's what he works so hard for. And whether you like it or not, he is well within his rights. And it is up to the stewards now to decide. But for now, we are going to claim Jarno Opmeer as the Season 16 champion, Nathan.
Of course, and I think he deserves it, doesn't he?
He definitely
he's
does.
done a brilliant job all season long. He might not be winning every single race, but he might not be on pole every single race, but he's always around that top 3, top 5 position. I think, yeah, he really, really deserves it. And obviously, being 3-time champion, I think he's the first to take 2. He's the first to take 3, and we'll see maybe next game he'll be the first to take 4.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. He said he might not be here if we do another season. I don't think anything's confirmed at the minute for season 17. Season 17. That just sounds weird. Of season 17 of WOR, but we could see a three-peat from him. He could be the Sebastian Vettel taking his 4th championship here in WOR. It's just incredible to see. And I think now is the time. We're acting like it's the season finale. We'll see you back on our screen. Well, you'll see us back on your screens in a week's time. But I think tonight is just a little bit more special, Nathan.
We've seen someone get the championship for the first time. We also hit 20,000 subscribers. To top it off, we've hit our biggest milestone here on the channel, which is, of course, brilliant to see. And I was looking through in the race as well, and the viewership was absolutely mental. I think we nearly hit 4,000 at one point, which is also probably one of our peaks for this, for this season as well. So this night has been brilliant, hasn't it, Dan? All night long.
Yeah.
And for once, I'd say the chat, it was tame. There was lots of battling, but the chat was, there wasn't getting too irate, which is lovely to see throughout the race. And that is also something we asked, that the chat and all was nice and respectful to all the drivers, which I think we saw a lot more throughout this night. So, yeah, I couldn't be much happier of how this race and stream has gone down.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just incredible to see. I've just seen a question asking whether or not we are going to do that last round, even though Jarno is champion. Of course, we're going to go to Saudi Arabia. I was hyping it up the whole way through the stream, saying it's one of my favourites for league racing. You will see us back on your screens next time out in Saudi Arabia. But before we close off tonight, thank you all so much for helping us reach 20,000 subscribers and just being here talking to us all night long. It is so incredible to see all of the love that myself and Nathan are getting in the live chat, and I think for once it's actually been it's mostly positive. Obviously you get the moments where tensions boil over and everyone has a go at each other, but when it comes to the end of the stream, this is arguably the nicest stuff, when we get to see everyone just talking about the championship, talking about how we've hit 20k, being nice to myself and Nathan. It's just incredible. Thank you all so much from the bottom of mine and Nathan's heart. But of course the season is not over. You can join us next time in Abu Dhabi. We've just been there in Saudi Arabia. It's going to be an incredible race. 27 laps of fury, 25 laps of fury, apologies there. But for now, we'll leave off on a very positive note. We've hit 20k subscribers. Jarno Opmeer is a 3-time champion. It is incredible to see. If you want to follow us on social media, you can at WOR League. And if you haven't already, even though we've hit 20k subscribers, we're aiming for more. So if you haven't already at this point, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you want to keep up to date with all the WOR news and maybe even find out the results of that stewards inquiry from Thomas Ronhar, you could join the Discord. The link is in the description. Thank you everyone once again so much for tuning in for this round of WOR. We will see you for the last time in Season 16 in Saudi Arabia 1 week from now. Thank you everyone once again so much, and good night.
It is the home of sim racing leagues. Our management tools allow you to recruit drivers and monitor their ratings and live splits. Find this and more at gridfinder.com. Sign up for free today.